Now, from Wrigley Field, it's the New York Yankees and the Chicago Cubs on the Sunday night game of the week. Chicago, New York, Wrigley Field, Yankee Stadium. Great tradition, great folklore, including baseball's most enduring legend.
Well, I looked out at center field and I poured it. I said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball right past the flagpole. Well, the good Lord, that's been with me.
Babe Ruth's called shot, fact or fiction? The answer remains elusive. But this weekend, after a 65-year absence, the Yankees have returned to Wrigley Field. And once again, Wrigley has come alive. With controversy, with Roger Clemens' bid to make history, and with an outbreak of pennant fever. Tonight, from our kind of town, it's the beloved Cubbies and the mighty Yankees from New York. It's Game 3 from the friendly confines. And from 1932 and Babe Ruth's called shot to 2003, same venue, Wrigley Field, same two teams, the Yankees and the Cubs tonight. Sunday night baseball presented by Nextel, and we've got the rubber match here at the venerable ballpark, and we've got Cubs fans and Yankees fans, and right now, after rain much of the day, we've got excellent weather, and right now the wind is blowing out. A home run hitter's wind blowing out toward Lake Michigan. And of course, we've got the sluggers. Jason Giambi ready to go for the Yankees. Sammy Sosa, slamming Sammy, getting ready to take the field for the Chicago Cubs. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller. And there's a lot of excitement in Chicago. These two ball clubs, historic franchises, facing off. And we've got the Yankees with a great slugger and a great American League slugger, Jason Giambi, and of course the Cubs with the great National League slugger, Sammy Sosa. They both made their presence felt in this series on Friday. In his first at bat in this ballpark, Sammy Sosa gave him a taste of American League power. Then yesterday, in a turning point of the ball game against the Rocket, Sammy Sosa, after a great at bat, got the base hit that started what proved to be the winning rally and made Roger Clemens the losing pitcher yesterday instead of the winner. With me is my partner, Joe Morgan. And Joe, Sammy Sosa, he's been through the gauntlet of all kinds of controversy and everything else this week, and he's not hitting home runs. What gives with Sammy?
Well, John, the cork bat issue we'll get into later on. But Sammy's problems actually started April 20th when he was hit in the head by Solomon Torres. He has not been swinging the bat well since that time. He's gone 58 at bats without a home run and only one in his last 96. So he has been struggling offensively, and they need him to get hot.
All right, so Sammy getting ready to lead the Cubs out on the field. And at any moment, you keep thinking this could be the day when Sammy gets into one of those streaks. But it hasn't happened so far. Mark Pryor going tonight for the Cubs. Yesterday it was Kerry Wood. The Cubs have a lot of powerful pitching. And Pryor, the young guy out of USC, he has really been something.
Well, he is, John, and I think he's in a perfect slot here. Zambrano started the first day. That was the toughest day to pitch. Yesterday, Kerry Wood went out there and shut them down. Well, now everyone's telling Mark Pryor that you're better than Kerry Wood. So he's going to go out there today and maybe overpower him. And guess what? The Yankees are in for a long afternoon. I think it's going to take them at least one or two at-bats before they understand exactly what this guy's throwing.
So we've got it all tonight. We've got great talent, the great venue, great cities going head-to-head. And we've got two first-place teams, the Yankees and the Cubs, ready to play ball, the rubber match of the series.
ESPN.
This week on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, the Cubs' 22-year-old phenom Mark Pryor is on the mound, and tonight he'll tell the story of his surprise meeting with Hall of Famer Tom Seaver.
That was a thrill for me. He said, "You're a great pitcher. I hope you do well, and I'm looking forward, to things to come."
And Joe Morgan catches up with first-year Cubs manager Dusty Baker.
What is this Sammy Sosa incident caused you to change about the way you manage?
What it's done actually is hopefully made my team stronger as a unit.
And we'll turn back the clock 65 years to the Yanks and Cubs last meeting and Lou Gehrig's final World Series before being overcome by illness.
It's all coming up on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball in its 14th season as Major League Baseball's only nationally televised game of the week.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Nextel. From Wrigley Field, it's the Yankees and the Cubs. We had rain. The tarp was covering the field not so long ago, but now we are ready to play ball under bright, sunshiny skies in the late afternoon, early evening here in early June. A lot of Cubs colors out there, but also some Yankee colors. And in fact, I think the Cubs were kind of shocked here on Friday when Jason Giambi hit that home run early in the game, and there were so many Yankee fans who became known at that point. There's we got Yankee fans and Cubs fans sometimes side by side, elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder. And it's often that way at Wrigley when the St. Louis Cardinals come up. They're traditional rival. The Yankees and the Cubs, so far they play once every 60, 70 years. Now Sammy leads the Cubs on the field. Something that has become a tradition here at Wrigley Field, and it has not changed despite everything that's happened for Sammy in the year of his discontent. So the Cubs on the field, Sammy leading the way and then saluting the fans out there in the bleachers. Let's take a look now at the Yankees batting order presented by Nextel, and they get right into the power. The slugger Alfonso Soriano at second base leading it off. Then Derek Jeter at shortstop. Jason Giambi starting to come around now at first base. Jorge Posada is having a sensational season, hitting cleanup, the catcher. Robin Ventura, the veteran, at third base. Raul Mondesi, another veteran, in right field. Hideki Matsui, the great slugger from the Japanese Central League, in center field. Juan Rivera, the rookie, in left field, hitting eighth. And Andy Pettitte, the veteran, is on the mound, batting ninth. All up against the young right-hander, Mark Pryor. And Pryor, who has put up some remarkable numbers, especially when you consider he's only 22 years old. And look at that, 6-2 at 2.76 ERA. He has excellent control on only 22 walks versus 88 strikeouts, more than a strikeout per inning. And he showed us his repertoire and how he grips his pitches.
I just throw a basic four-seam fastball, and then my curve, slider, slurve, breaking ball pitch is just on the horseshoe, a little bit over the horseshoe, and just bring it down. And then occasionally I throw my changeup, was just a little bit off the circle change. I just bring it up and just release it out.
And John, what's interesting there is that he doesn't throw a two-seam fastball, meaning a sinking fastball. He just throws the riding fastball, and he called it, you know, a curve, slurve, whatever. I like that because if you throw it hard, it becomes more of a slider. You throw it slower, it becomes more of a curveball. And he does throw a changeup occasionally. I think the one thing that he has going for him is the fact that you can scout a guy, you can hear all the reports, but until you stand in the batter's box and see how fast his ball is coming, how much movement there is, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And here's the defense behind him. Real important guy here for the Cubs, Miller, Damian Miller, real good acquisition. He handles the pitches very well. Eric Carroll filling in for Choi. Gruzelanek at second base, pretty good second baseman, journeyman. Gonzalez at shortstop. Martinez, one of my favorite players. He plays well all over. Alou, Patterson, and Sosa in the outfield. Patterson has a lot of range. Sosa has been pretty good also lately.
So here we go. Yankee fans, Cubs fans, and Wrigley Field, which has been rocking here for 3 days. Alfonso Soriano stands in, standing right up in the front of the batter's box. First ball swinging, the first pitch he's ever seen from Mark Pryor, and he fouls it back to the screen.
Well, you can see he's standing way up here and starting, but a lot of times, you know, if you're facing a real hard thrower, you move back an inch or two. Give yourself just a little bit more time to get the barrel out there. But Soriano's young and he's still quick, so he's going to try it from the front of the box.
He's not been quick enough yet in that fastball.
A little tardy on both of those. But that's the point I was making, John. You can see all the scouting reports, even see video on a guy throwing. But until you stand in that box to see the arm speed, the arm motion, you can't really get a feel for what a guy is throwing and how hard he's throwing.
Soriano, there's only one American leaguer who has hit more home runs so far this year. That is the great Toronto Blue Jays slugger, Carlos Delgado. Soriano second with 18. Wow, look at the hand and wrist action on that breaking ball. Cut off in the alleyway there by Patterson, but Soriano with a great speed makes it into second. Doesn't seem to realize that the ball was then rolling across the infield. Finally picked up by Eric Karras over along the first base line.
Well, you might wonder to yourself, why would you throw a guy a breaking ball after you've thrown 2 fastballs he can't catch up with? At least waste a breaking ball. This is a hanging breaking ball. I mean, it's just a hanging breaking ball, and all Soriano has to do is get his hands through. And he does that. Great job of pulling his hands through. He didn't hit it hard, but he hit it in the right spot, and he ends up with a double.
And it seemed like Soriano wasn't aware that the ball had just skipped right on by at second base. Here's Derek Jeter now, trying to move him over. And Jeter bunts it, but pops it up, and no. Great effort there by Damian Miller. That's interesting, Joe. Now, Derek Jeter, who handles the bat well. And does that tell you something about the Yankees' expectations against this young right-hander, that they're bunting the second batter of the game?
Well, I think they want to find out how well he feels his position and just put some pressure on the defense early.
Jeter hitting .286. He's not been hitting a whole lot lately. Back from his injury that put him on the shelf right away in the early part of the season. But struggling with the bat here in the last several days. Soriano at second. Nobody out. Soriano distracting Pryor, so he steps off the slab with the shortstop Gonzalez breaking in behind him.
Well, the one thing that Jeter's bunt attempt has done is moved Eric Karras in at first base. Now if he slashes the ball to the right side, it has a better chance of getting through.
He's not bunting now. Ooh. Got him chasing that breaking ball, and it is strike 2 to Jeter.
And that's the point, the pitch I was talking about. If you're going to throw a breaking ball once you're 0-2 to Soriano, you have to throw that kind of a breaking ball. One that's a bad pitch out of the strike zone that he probably can't even reach. You see Jeter can't reach this one, but he hung the one to Soriano, and Soriano hit it for a double.
Now, I like what he did in that pitch because Jeter's looking for a pitch away to hit to the right side, right? But it ended up being a little further away than Jeter would have liked. 0-2 the count. Look out. Buzzed him with the fastball. 1-2 now. You also have to keep an eye on Soriano. He has 17 stolen bases this year. He's only been caught twice.
Well, they're doing a good job of trying to break his rhythm at second base. First, the shortstop sneaks in behind, and then the second baseman, he's way off now, so the shortstop's going to have to hold him close.
Back in the hands with a fastball, and Jeter managed to fight it off.
But if Pryor stops him, Jeter can't steal third. By that, I mean, Soriano cannot steal third. You have to have a moving lead at second base to be able to steal third base. So if he makes him stop, then he's not going to be able to steal third base.
Soriano led off the game with his 11th double of the year. Now Jeter trying to move him up. The slider in the dirt struck him out. He's tagged out by Miller, and Soriano still at second, a wasted out for the Yankees. Let's take a look at that pitch now from K-Zone, presented by Carfax.
Well, sometimes being a team player hurts you a lot because Jeter's trying to go the other way, and he, as you mentioned, the ball's out there, so he's going to try to slap it that way, and in both cases he swings over the top of the slider in the dirt.
There's Jeter and Soriano fans down the right field line. The Jeter fans a little bit down right now, I would guess. Here's Jason Giambi. And there's that slider, and it is 0-1. I say slider. Well, he really got two different kinds of curveballs that he throws.
Yeah, he called it a slurve, you know, meaning, you know, sometimes he throws it looks like a slider, other times it's slower. It looks like a curveball. And I like that description because it just depends on how he releases it out of his hand.
There's that fastball up and in. 1 ball and 1 strike.
He just calls it a breaking ball, which I think is the proper term. See, when I saw Jason last week in New York, he said that his eyes were all clear now, and he expected to go on a tear, and he's been doing that.
And he has exceptional vision. But apparently, when he was having the eye problems, it took away his sense of the kind of rotation of the ball. He was having a hard time distinguishing pitches.
He said he was losing it also, John, like right the last few feet. He said he'd lose the ball. And we saw him a few times duck out of the way. It wasn't the ball was that close, but he would lose it. And if you lose a fastball or a pitch, you should get out of there.
I'm getting out of there, and I'm up here. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jason Giambi, one of the premier American League sluggers. He had a very fine year for the Yankees last year. A very slow start this year. But as you saw, he's coming along lately. Soriano at second, 1 out. And a foul. What about the shadows right now? You got the hitter's backdrop in the sunshine, the pitcher in the shadows. You think that's a problem?
Well, it's not perfect, but one of the good things about being here is this area right here is not shining. See, that's grass, so you don't get the sun reflecting off of it, which would bother you, as you do in some other parks.
That's on the wall now. In Chicago, they call that ivy.
Ivy, yes.
1-2 the count. Too high. 13th pitch of the game thrown by Pryor. Only the 3rd that did not end up being a strike one way or the other. Soriano led off the inning with a double. He's at second. 1 out.
Well, with Jeter and Giambi, he's used his fastball well to set up the slider or the curve. He did not do so well with Soriano.
And that fastball misses up and away. And that's one thing about Giambi. I mean, you've got to throw strikes to Giambi. Very discerning eye up there. So now it is 3-2 to Giambi. He homered in his first Wrigley Field at bat on Friday against Carlos Zambrano, another one of the Cubs' hard-throwing young pitchers. 3-2 the count. Pryor ready. Oh, look at that breaking ball. He struck him out. Wow.
Well, he set him up perfectly for that pitch because he was throwing a lot of good fastballs, which tells Giambi, I'm going to have to be quick on the fastball. And a 3-2 count, the ball starts on the inside part of the plate. You think it's a fastball, and you commit very quickly. See, that ball starts inside, and Giambi just knows he has to be quick, and he gets out in front of it. That's what we're talking about with Damian Miller. He calls a very good game. He helps these young pitchers to understand what they're supposed to do out there on the mound.
And, of course, he knows these Yankee hitters, and most of them. He was behind the plate for that great World Series 2 years ago when he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks as Posada fouls one into the upper deck off to the left.
And you can see, even though they know that Pryor throws hard, no one has been able to get the barrel of the bat out there in front of the fastball. They're looking fastball, but they're not able to catch up because they just have not seen how much movement and how much explosion his fastball has. I think you'll see later in the game, you'll see guys start to put the fastball in play.
Soriano still at second. Look out, that hit him. Posada hit by the pitch. The high, tight fastball. Well, these guys are not afraid to go inside. That's the 5th batter this year that Pryor has hit with a pitch. Kerry Wood, his teammate who worked yesterday, has hit 10. So 2 men on, and now the veteran Robin Ventura will come up.
Well, it was supposed to be a fastball on the inside corner, and you can see it starts way in, and Posada can't get his arm out of the way.
And a fastball on the outside right there. Strike 1 to Ventura. Ventura, the veteran, who started his career on the other side of town with the White Sox in the big leagues. 8 homers, 29 driven in, and a .282 average.
And a good fastball hitter. It's a real test for his fastball.
And the curve a little bit inside apparently. 1 ball, 1 strike. 31st batter hit as we take a look at K-zone. Yeah.
Off the plate inside.
Jim Reynolds, the home plate umpire. And Pryor will try it again. 2 on, 2 out. Curveball too low. 2-1 the count. Andy Pettitte up against Pryor. Wouldn't mind getting a couple of runs out there before he heads out. Cubs pitchers, by the way, as a group have hit 31 hitters, and that is the 2nd highest total in the majors. Oh man. Now what do you say when a fastball has that a little extra on it, Joe?
Yeah, a lot of giddy up on that one, moving away and up.
2-2 the count now. Soriano with great speed at second base. Posada the catcher at first base. Oh, he struck him out. Just powered it by him. So Pryor strikes out the side, and Soriano is stranded. Now the Cubs are coming up. Tonight baseball. The Yankees did not score in the first, and now the Cubs are coming up. There's Corey Patterson in the foreground. Moises Alou on the right, sitting on the dugout bench. The Cubs batting on and out, presented by Nextel. Mark Grudzielanek at second. Alex Gonzalez at short. Corey Patterson having a very fine season in center. Sammy Sosa in right field, still trying to get it going, hitting cleanup. Moises Alou in left. Eric Karras, the veteran, and yesterday's hero at first base. Ramon Martinez at third base. Damian Miller, the former Diamondback, is the catcher, hitting eighth. And Mark Pryor, the pitcher, and a very good hitting pitcher, hitting ninth, all against the 29th, soon-to-be 30-year-old Andy Pettitte. As again, you got to look at the folks here at Wrigley. There's Pettitte. He's won 10 postseason games in his career, including some very big ones along the way. He struggled a little bit this year, although he's pitched well enough to have won in 4 of his last 5 times out.
Yeah, he has pitched well. You know, movement here or there. There you see the four-seam, the two-seamer, the cutter, the curve, and the changeup. I had a conversation with him here in Posada, and his cutter is actually a slider, and he knows that, he says, but he was taught as a cutter, and that's what they call it.
So here he goes to Mark Grudzielanek, and he misses a little bit down, perhaps, maybe a little bit off the outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Grudzielanek, formerly with the Dodgers, is hitting .296. He got off to a real hot start this year. And that misses. 2-0.
Well, it's interesting what he's doing now, because in the past, Pettitte had always thrown the cutter inside and just always bore in on the right-handers. Lately, he's been turning the fastball over, throwing the fastball away.
That's a strike.
That's what he's doing there. But that's not the Andy Pettitte that we've seen the last few years. Everything was cutting in or breaking inside to right-handed hitters.
2-1 the count. Again to the outside, but again missing. 3-1. Pettitte with a .639 winning percentage, and since World War II, the only left-handers who pitched as often or more than he has with a higher winning percentage, as Grudzielanek gets a base hit to center. We're talking about Whitey Ford, Randy Johnson, Sandy Koufax, Ron Guidry, and then Andy Pettitte, 5th on that list of left-handers since World War II.
And let's take a look at the Yankees defense, which is improved. Posada is a much better catcher now than he was a couple years ago. Giambi, he's injured a little bit at first. Soriano's playing better this year. Jeter has one of the strongest arms you'll ever see on a shortstop. Ventura has won 6 Gold Gloves. Rivera's in there because of his glove. Matsui plays pretty well in center field. And Mondesi, of course, has a great arm in right field. So pretty good defense.
Now Alex Gonzalez. Starts him with a curveball, too low.
Of course, the Yankees are a better defense when they put Matsui in left and Bernie Williams in center.
Gonzalez. There's Matsui out there on the edge of the sunshine in center field. And back to the bag is Grudzielanek. Now, over the years, Pettitte has had one of the most devastating pickoff moves of any left-hander. 67 career pickoffs since 1995 when he first came around, but he has not had a single pickoff in his last 20 starts dating back to last year.
Well, I think part of that is the fact that, you know, his reputation precedes him, and a lot of first base coaches are just more alert when he's on the mound than they were earlier. But they have been successful in stealing some bases. I mean, if they're able to read him, they've been very successful, but it's tough to read him.
Grudzielanek is not a base stealer. Curveball in there for a strike to Gonzalez. 1 ball, 1 strike. Grudzielanek has only stolen 2 bases. The one guy in the Cubs lineup tonight who really is a threat to steal a base is Corey Patterson, who is on deck. There's Corey. Sammy Sosa in the hole. No score in the game. Corey Patterson, 10 steals in 14 attempts. He leads the Cubs in steals. There's a fastball in there for a strike.
Well, I'm sure the scouting report on Andy Pettitte to the Cubs, who have not seen him much, is that he throws cutters into the right-handers. and cutters away to left-handers. So far, he has gone with the fastball away and moving it back in, as he did there on Gonzalez, but he has not shown the cutter much. There it is.
Just got a piece of it, fouling it, staying alive. By the way, we saw the numbers for Gonzalez when he came up there. 5 home runs for the year. And this is not really his time as a home run hitter. His time is the 10th inning or later. He has had 3 game-winning extra inning home runs this year. And again, back to the bag is Grudzielanek. He's only had 2 other home runs at all, but 3 in extra innings to win ball games. Sammy Sosa, he's hit a few over the years, but he's not hit many lately, not at any time. And that is too low. 2-2 the count.
And we talk about Pettitte's pickoff move, but he has a high leg kick. So if you can read him, you can get a good jump and steal the base, but you have to be able to read him.
Grudzielanek, 2 steals this year and only 10 steals the last 3 years combined. 2-2 to Gonzalez. Caught for a double play. A low liner on a broken bat. Giambi caught it, and there was no chance for Grudzielanek to get back.
Anytime the ball is hit behind you like that, you're not going to be able to get back, because your first reaction is just to stop and look. And once you look, there's no way you can get back. You have to start back immediately, and that's not what you normally do. Your reaction is to stop.
You got to look at the picturesque setting here at Wrigley Field tonight. Corey Patterson, and that's ball 1 inside. Corey is hitting .319, 12 homers, 45 driven in. He is the Cubs home run leader. He's hit twice as many homers as has Sammy Sosa. Big curveball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Corey, one of those guys, Joe, that with all kinds of talent, but last year, the second half of the season, it was just one long slump for him, and he said it got to him. He lost 10 or 11 pounds in the second half of last season. 1-2 the count. He says now he's got a little more experience, and he's able to handle a bad game without thinking it's the end of the world.
Well, that's what you gain as an experienced major leaguer. But I can understand losing weight, and nothing tastes good. Food doesn't taste good when you're in a slump.
So probably Sammy Sosa hasn't been enjoying his meals too much lately.
No.
Right through the middle. Look out. Wow. Andy Pettitte on a liner that went to center and almost took his head with it.
That looked like a slower slider. It wasn't, or a curveball. It wasn't a real hard cutting fast slider.
Now slamming Sammy.
John, one of the good things if you're Sammy Sosa you have to be pleased with is that this did happen at home. Now you're at home where your fans who idolize you, they're going to still cheer for you. The key is going to be when he goes out on the road and see how the reaction is from the fans on the road.
If you're Sammy Sosa, on the week when you got caught with cork in your bat, it's kind of a blessing that your next series was not at Yankee Stadium, but rather right here at Wrigley.
Exactly.
Just kind of the luck of the draw that this series, it's the only series they're going to play against each other this year in the regular season, interleague play. It could just as easily have been at Yankee Stadium.
Correct. Or he could be on the road. I mean, whatever. I mean, Yankee Stadium may be the worst, but just being on the road could be difficult as well.
You think they would have gotten on Sammy at Yankee Stadium this weekend?
They're probably getting on him now, even though we're not there.
1 ball, 1 strike to Sammy Sosa. Sosa with 6 homers and none since May the 1st when he hit one in San Francisco. 26 runs batted in. And that's a ball. 2-1 to Sosa. No score Each team got a leadoff man aboard here in the first inning. Soriano led off the first with a double for the Yankees, but never got past second base. Patterson at first here with 2 down. The second Cub to reach in this inning. Fastball in the hands. A mighty cut by Sosa, but a foul back out into the crowd. Well, they still love him here in Chicago. There's no question about it.
Well, you can see he's a little late. I mean, he's like he gets tied up a little bit right there on that pitch. Did not get the barrel of the bat to the front of the plate.
Oh, Patterson was leaning the wrong way. And that's the vintage Pettitte pickoff move. And Patterson's lucky he got back.
Well, the only reason he got back because he could dive. He didn't have to take a step and dive. See, he's close enough. And he's actually moving back, and then he starts. So shouldn't have been that close because he had a very short lead.
2-2 to Sammy Sosa. That would be about the worst, to have your big slugger, the great Sammy Sosa, at the plate, and you get picked off to end the inning.
Correct.
So now Corey Patterson knows what they're talking about anyway, about what Andy Pettitte can do out there. Here's Dusty Baker in his first year as the manager of the Cubs. 3-2 the count. Patterson runs, and ball 4 to Sammy Sosa. His boss has been making more comments in the papers than in the recent past since Torrey became manager.
The interesting thing about Joe is even at the beginning of the season when they were going very well, he questioned, you know, how good the team was because they were winning games just by hitting home runs. You know, and that's not really Joe Torre's style of game. He wants to play the game.
Inevitably, the home runs won't come for periods of time.
Right.
Then what? Big curveball, a strike to Moises Alou. Moises hitting .286, 5 homers, 32 driven in. Corey Patterson at second base now. Sosa at first with 2 down. Patterson, the runner at second, is a very fast runner. So on a base hit to the outfield, he's likely to score. That one is hit a long way back there, and over everything onto the streets of Chicago. 3-0 Cubs.
Dusty Baker says that Moises Lewis and Gary Sheffield are 2 best fastball hitters he's seen. And Moises Lewis definitely can handle a fastball. He gets a fastball. This one's up a little bit, and he drills it. High fastball. Well, it's not as high as I thought. I thought it was about bell tie, but it's not. And he drills it. But he is a good fastball hitter, and you just cannot get him out with fastballs.
Yeah, they knew where it was going. And a standing ovation here. Moises Alou had to come out and take a curtain call. Out onto Waveland Avenue, and a souvenir for a fan out there. So Pettitte has faced 5 hitters, and 4 of them have reached base. There's the curtain call from Moises. Now Eric Karras. When he was last seen here, he launched one. And that was an electrifying moment here at Wrigley Field. Right after Roger Clemens had been removed from the game. With a 1-0 lead, the first pitch to Karras from the reliever, Acevedo. Gone. 3-run homer. Curveball, and that misses. You know, Karras has been in a lot of big games. He's been around a long time. Been a lot of pennant races. He said yesterday was the most excitement he's ever seen at a ballpark that he's ever been involved in as a player. That curveball bounced foul back behind the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. This is the home run we saw tonight.
That's from center field. And that young fella there ends up with it in his glove.
2-2 to Karras. Strike 3 called. He backdoored him with a slider. And the inning is over. But in the rubber match of this series, the Cubs have jumped ahead of the Yankees. 3-0 Chicago. Sunday night baseball from Wrigley Field. 3-0 Cubs over the Yankees.
John, we saw him strike out Jeter and Giambi with curveballs, but you don't want a young phenom to fall in love with the curveball, so Damian Miller makes him throw the fastball to a fastball hitter and get back on track. He has to use his fastball. That's his pitch. You don't want him to just fall in love with that curveball.
So Mark Pryor back to work, and that is in there for a called strike to Raul Mondesi.
And that's the job of the catcher, to make sure that that doesn't happen, and that's why Dusty Baker thinks that Miller is such a good catcher. He makes these guys work the way they're supposed to.
1 ball, 1 strike.
There's Dusty.
Cubs lost 95 games last year, and they went out and brought in Dusty Baker, and a fastball up and away.
You know his comment? He says, if they would have been playing well, they wouldn't have needed me. So when they bring you in to do extraordinary things, they pay you that way.
Well, the Cubs got off to a very fine start, and the count now 2-2. Even though Sammy Sosa has struggled much of the early part of the year, the Cubs themselves were playing very well. Even when Sammy went on the disabled list and missed nearly 3 weeks, the Cubs held their own for much of that time. But eventually, they're going to need
him.
Slam and Sammy.
You're right.
To get hot. 2-2 the count, and 3-2 to Mondesi. Matsui is on deck, and then the rookie Juan Rivera due up third in the inning. Here's Matsui, who has had a pretty good few days here on the road against National League teams. And Mondesi got that fastball into the alleyway, and he's going to test him. Here's Alou's throw. He's in there. A double for Mondesi.
Good hustle there by Mondesi. I mean, he made up his mind right away. I'm going to get to second base. And you're right. That was a high fastball, 92 miles an hour. And Mondesi is a good fastball hitter. He goes up and gets this one. You see, the target's supposed to be away. Fastball, it's away, but it's up a little bit. Not a bad pitch. If you're a power pitcher, that fastball up and away is a good pitch for you. Nice throw by Alou, but good hustle there by Mondesi.
So for the second consecutive inning, the Yankees get a leadoff double. Now here is Hideki Matsui, and he's had a big week. Joe Torre moved him down in the order before a game in Cincinnati the other day. Oh man, a wild swing over the top of that curveball, and it is 0-1. Matsui ended up hitting a homer and 3 doubles in that game in Cincinnati the other night, and then he had a very dramatic home run yesterday against Kerry Wood that put the Yankees ahead. Fastball, a strike on the outside. It's 0-2.
Well, I'm still shocked a little bit that they throw him as many off-speed pitches as they do. You know, because he came from Japan, and over there they throw a lot of off-speed pitches, and that's what he accustomed to hitting.
Especially we got guys like Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor, but he hit a curveball from Kerry Wood. 0-2. There's the curveball knocked down.
He's saying it hit him.
And it did. So Matsui takes first base, and Pryor is in a jam here. That's the second hit batsman of the game by Mark Pryor. This one, he had an 0-2 count.
And he threw him a slider down and in, and Matsui couldn't get out of the way. A slider, it actually gets him on his back foot. And you can see it does hit him on the foot because it changes direction.
Well, maybe Matsui didn't see too many breaking balls amongst that, you know, that blizzard of breaking balls he used to see in Japan.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't see too many that broke that much.
That sharply.
That's the first time he's been hit by a pitch this year. And he did not get out of the way of it. That ball had some sharp break to it. Here is Rivera. 2 men on, nobody out. And not much room in foul ground in that area here at Wrigley Field as Karras went over, but it's in amongst the spectators. It is 0-1. Let me get a look at it. I mean, we're in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. I mean, the fans are out close to the action here.
And you have to love playing in this ballpark. And there they are, the friendly confines. Ernie Banks, that's what he used to say all the time. I saw Ernie before the game. He was here.
Yeah.
Down signing autographs.
0-1 to Juan Rivera. Rivera, the Yankee rookie, hitting only 196. 2 men on, nobody out. Pryor in a jam. Fastball on the inside. 0-2.
When you watch his fastball, John, it seems like right at the end there's some, it explodes on the hitter. So it looks like it explodes there.
Oh, and 2 the count to Rivera. You got the pitcher up next, Andy Pettitte. Mondesi at second, Matsui at first. To the outside, but he missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Let's take a look at this last pitch. K zone is supposed to be in, but because everyone is sitting in, the ball's on the outside corner. He may have confused, you know, the umpire because everyone was sitting in. The catcher was in, the target was in, yet the ball was away.
1-2 the count. 2 men on, nobody out. The curveball hit slowly. Gonzalez to second 1. The relay by Grudzielanek pulled out of the dirt by Karras. Double play. Mondesi to third.
Nice job by Karras to scoop that. Grudzielanek stood at the bag under duress from Matsui, but he makes the play. Gonzalez, see, stands right there, and then he flicks it. And a nice pickup at first by Eric Karras.
So now Mondesi at third base, but the Yankees having a hard time getting that clutch hit. Here's Pettitte trying to do it himself here, and the count is 0-1.
John, we talked earlier, we mentioned the Yankees were hitting a lot of home runs early, but as you mentioned, it's not that home runs are not going to be consistent throughout the season. You're going to have spells where you're not hitting home runs, and you have to do something else.
Andy Pettitte got a base hit this past Tuesday in Cincinnati on a curveball. Andy Pettitte 1 for 3 in that game and 2 for 6 lifetime as a big league hitter. Sharp curve in the dirt. Nice save there by Damian Miller. And you have to have a lot of confidence that your catcher with a runner at third is going to catch that one to throw that pitch.
Yeah.
1-2. Well, he caught Randy Johnson's slider, and
good point.
Kurt Schilling's best stuff is splitter.
I think you should be able to blow Pettitte away like that.
Well, you were right again. He blew him away. Last of the second, 3-0 Chicago. So now in a flat-footed tie with the Yankees for first place in the American League East. The Blue Jays 2.5 back. Little extra incentive as Martinez takes the ball from Pettitte. A little extra incentive for the Yankees to go ahead and win this ball game. After this one, they go home to the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium. I think it's just a question of what you call it.
Yeah.
Because as we see, Ramon Martinez, former San Francisco Giant, in effect came over here with Dusty. That one is smoked to left field, and that ball is gone. A home run. 4-0 Cubs.
Well, Martinez has been a guy that can fill in a lot of different positions, and he does swing the bat pretty well. Let's take a look at this pitch. Fastball away, about belt high. But he reaches out and rakes it into left field.
And Damian Miller, first ball swinging, base hit to left field against Pettitte. Another look at the home run in flight from Ramon Martinez. I mean, the way that ball was hit, it didn't. You wondered if it would have enough on it to make it over the wall. There's Ernie Banks.
Ryan Sandberg.
Ernie and Rhino.
Two of the greatest Cubs ever.
You know, they could have been a double play combination if they'd come along at
the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget Ernie Banks started as a shortstop in the major leagues. He ended his career at first base, but he was a shortstop. And this is Ernie Banks, one of the flags they have retired here, so to speak. That says Ernie Banks, number 14 there, Banks 14. They have one for Billy Williams. And I expect one of these days they should have one for Sandberg if they don't already.
Here's the Nextel poll question. Log on to ESPN.com or your Nextel phone to vote. Which player age 25 or younger is most likely to make the Hall of Fame? As Pryor bunts at it but fouls it for strike one. Which player age 25 or younger is most likely to make the Hall of Fame? Mark Mulder of Oakland?
Well, you know what? I'm not, I'm usually a little wishy-washy. I'm not even going to think about it. Albert Pujols is my choice.
Oh, because he's hitting 390?
I mean, that's a pretty good reason.
Because he's got 51 RBIs?
Yeah, that's a pretty good reason.
Just because of that?
No, because of what he's done for his first couple of years.
Man. And Pryor gets the bunt down. Posada over to Soriano covering. Miller has been moved along.
Good job by the technique is a little interesting, but a good job of bunting there by Pryor. He gets the ball down the first base line where you're supposed to, and that allows Damian Miller to move in the scoring position. You like to see that. He is a good hitter as well, John, so I'm sure he didn't want to bunt, but he is a good hitter. He's hitting 294. I mean, he swings the bat very well.
Now Mark Grudzielanek, who hit a single his first time. Curveball for a strike. In fact, 6 of the first 8 Cubs hitters against Andy Pettitte tonight reached base against him with either a hit or a walk. And now Pryor, the 9th hitter, has intentionally made an out. So Pettitte is really struggling. Runner at second, 1 out. And strike 2. 0-2 the count. I mean, Albert Pujols, it's like he was a 10-year veteran the first year he played.
And he just still gets better. He started off great and he's getting better.
Jeff Weaver up in the bullpen. How about this guy, Alfonso Soriano?
You know how I feel about him. I think he's going to be a great player.
I mean, he plays a difficult position, a key position on the infield. He's getting better and better at that. And he hits home runs, and he hits for average, and he steals a lot of bases.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt that he is a great player, and he's going to get better as well. But at this point, I think Pujols is a little ahead of him.
Going to third is Miller, as Soriano throws out Grudzielanek, out number 2. Of course, the other 3 guys we listed are pitchers.
Right.
Mulder, Zito from the Athletics, and Mark Pryor, sitting in the dugout there, who's pitching here for the Cubs tonight.
Pitchers are more difficult, I think, John, because you never know. I mean, if you'd asked me years ago, I would have said Dwight Gooden's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Arm problems. I mean, you can never predict a pitcher's career, I don't think.
Curveball to Gonzalez, and he fouls it.
I mean, 2 years ago, Kerry Wood was unbelievable, and then he had arm problems. And not that he's not great now, but I mean, you cannot predict what's going to happen with pitchers.
Now, Kerry Wood will turn 26 next week. The way he looked yesterday, though, you wonder just how good can he eventually get. Going back, that ball is over the head of Rivera. Miller scores. Gonzalez has a double. 5-0 Chicago.
Well, the one thing that you brought up already is that he's not fooling anyone. I mean, the speed of his pitchers aren't fooling guys. I mean, they're right on target. I mean, these are hard line drives and hard hit balls. These are not just line drives. I mean, that ball's hanging up and away, and they're going out and getting balls that are away toward the outside part of the plate and drilling them.
Well, that may be it for Pettitte. One line drive too many, or 3 or 4 line drives too many. Jeff Weaver up in the bullpen, and this is a very, very early exit for Andy Pettitte, the veteran lefty. 5-0 Cubs. Weaver coming in.
How can a person using a walkie-talkie in Los Angeles instantly contact another in New York? Homing pigeons, flocks of our feathered friends, tirelessly flying from one coast to the other, outfitted with leg band transmitters and tracked from rooftop data centers to create an airborne network that makes transcontinental walkie-talkie signals possible.
No, that's not how we did it. Introducing Nextel's coast-to-coast walkie-talkie. Now that's a walkie-talkie.
Easy. Oh, no more biking for you. Oh, I know.
Boy. It's the moment of choice. Thailand.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Nextel. Nextel, life's better when your cell phone has a walkie-talkie. And in part by Advil. Doctors nationwide recommend Advil for strong, long-lasting pain relief.
And there's Corey Patterson taking a curveball from Jeff Weaver for a called strike. Patterson actually started the first inning rally with a 2-out, nobody on single, a liner to center field, and the Cubs have been hitting line drives all over the yard ever since. So now Weaver picks up for Pettitte. Fastball in too tight. 1 ball, 1 strike.
John, you mentioned the fact that they took Pettitte out early, and it's the earliest I think I've seen him taken out of a ball game. But I think Joe Torre saw what we saw here, and that's a lot of hard hit line drives. He wasn't fooling anyone. And I think that's the reason, you know, and this team has struggled a little bit. They can't afford to just fall any further behind.
Ripped down the right field line. Fair ball. It rolls to the ivy. A run has scored, and Patterson eases into third. A stand-up triple. Six nothing Cubs.
Well, Corey Patterson has been swinging the bat well. He's been hot. And we'll take a look here. Fastball. This is pretty much in the middle of the plate. And, I mean, he rips it right inside the line. And as it bounces away, he ends up at third with a triple.
Now here's Sammy. 0-1 on the breaking ball.
You know, I talked to Dusty before the game, and Dusty said that he didn't see a lot of difference in Sammy since he was hitting the head. He didn't see him pulling off or anything like that. But I'm not so sure that Sammy's seeing the ball as well as he should, or he had been.
Well, Sammy got beamed. You remember it was in all the highlight programs, but also even in all the newspapers. The helmet actually shattered.
And that's the first time I've ever seen that, John. The helmet shattered.
Got beamed by Solomon Torres of the Pirates. Hard sinker that misses. 2-1. Anyway, that week, Sammy was the National League Player of the Week. He had 4 homers and 14 RBIs in that 1 week, ending the day that he got beamed. And he's only hit 1 homer since. He's also spent nearly 3 weeks on the disabled list at one point. On that slider, very softly hit. Robin Ventura throws him out. But the Cubs back up their 3-run first with a 3-run second. Top of the order coming up with the Yankees down by 6. Baseball presented by Nextel. Tonight we're at Wrigley Field, Chicago. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. And so far, the Cubs have been feasting on Yankee pitching. 6 runs in the first 2 innings with big Mark Pryor on the mound.
And remember, John, the Yankees have been struggling. So all of a sudden they lose 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati. They come to Chicago, and if they lose tonight, they would have lost 2 out of 3 here. So Joe Torre is trying to stop the bleeding.
The curveball, 0-2 to Soriano. A much better curveball than he threw to Soriano in the first inning that Soriano hit for a double. The Yankees, they started the year 23-6. Oh, look at that. Now, that was a sharp break.
And again, that's what he was trying to do when he had him 0-2 in the first inning. But he hung it inside, and Soriano, you know, good hitters, made him pay. But look, this ball starts right around the knees and breaks down. And that's what you want to do when you're ahead of the hitter 0-2 or 1-2.
So a perfect pitch on a 2-strike count.
Exactly.
One down, Derek Jeter. He struck out his first time. And Pryor made some pretty good pitches to Jeter, considering what Jeter was trying to do at that time. Hit the ball to the right side after Soriano's leadoff double. And that's just power baseball right there. He blew it by him 0-1. Jeter is now officially the Yankee captain, the 11th captain in Yankees history. And strike 2 on the outside.
One of the things I found out I wasn't aware of, but Willie Randolph had been the captain for the Yankees 86 through 89. I wasn't aware of that until last week when they made Jeter captain.
Slider in the dirt, 1 ball and 2 strikes. The very first Yankee captain was named Hal Chase. He was sort of the Keith Hernandez in terms of being a slick fielding first baseman of his time. That was back in 1912. Babe Ruth was the captain for 1 season. Then he lost that job. Slider in the dirt, 2-2 the count. Lou Gehrig was captain of the Yankees for several years. Thurman Munson, Greg Nettles. Well, there's the whole list. Everett Scott, he was the Iron Man before Gehrig and before Ripken. He had the all-time record that Gehrig eventually broke. And Don Mattingly, the most recent Yankee captain before Jeter. A little bit low with the fastball. 3-2. It was 0-2.
Take a look from K-zone. Tried to paint the outside corner knee high, and he misses.
Full count now. He's got a 6-run lead. Struck him out. He stumbled a little bit as he threw that one and did not throw it where Miller had asked for it, but it was very effective.
Well, he struck out on a slider down and away last time. That looks more like a cut fastball. Fastball is sailed, and it probably sailed, John, because he stumbled. That was supposed to be just a regular fastball, but he stumbled, so when he released it, it kind of sailed on him.
So if he could figure out how to make that happen.
That pitch, he could work. Like a backup slider.
Giambi deep into center, way back there, and that ball is gone. Up into the shrubbery up there. Jason Giambi with his 2nd home run of this weekend at Wrigley Field, and it is 6-1.
Well, if you're smart like Jason Giambi, you don't let him get ahead of you or get to that slider. If he throws you a fastball, you drill it, and that's what he did right there. It looks like the fastball is pretty much down where he likes it, out over the plate. And I mean, you have to hit a ball very hard to get it straight away center field here without any wind help.
That ball, that was a tape measure shot. So it is 6-1. That was a Ruthian clout.
He just didn't point.
Now, it was, I believe, when the Babe hit his so-called called shot in the 32 World Series, he hit it into the center field bleachers.
Right. Well, they used to have seats right there. You know, years ago, there were seats where the ivy is.
Posada. Looked like he took a little something off that. Might have been his changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, Babe Ruth was called the Bambino. And the very fine Yankee radio broadcaster, John Sterling, he's got a new name for Jason Giambi, the Giambino.
Oh, okay.
So when he hits a home run on a Yankee broadcast, you'll hear that. I like it. The Giambino goes deep. And Posada does not go deep enough into the glove of Corey Patterson. But Giambi gets the Yankees a run on the board. 6-1. Moises Alou coming up. Last of the third inning. Moises Alou up against Jeff Weaver. And that fastball in for a strike at the knees. Moises launched a 3-run homer out onto Wayland Avenue in the first inning for the first 3 runs of this game. And look at that breaking ball. That fooled him. 0-2 the count. Moises got off to a real slow start. And for the last month or so, has hit about 330. And that curve low and outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Eric Karras and Ramon Martinez will follow. We're only in the third inning. We've had 3 home runs hit in this ball game already. There's Karras, who hit the big one yesterday, right after Clemens was taken out of the game. Dropped down with that breaking ball, missed off the outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Andy Pettitte tonight went only 1 2/3 innings. We wondered if it was his shortest outing ever. He'd had a shorter one 3 years ago, 1 1/3 innings. That wall is a base hit. I'm not sure how he hit it.
Well, I'm sure. I told you he's one of the best fastball hitters you're going to see. I don't care if you throw him 9 straight curveballs. You better make a good pitch with the fastball. He didn't swing well at the breaking ball. They tried to come inside with a fastball, and he drills it. Well, see, they try to come inside with a fastball. It's way off the plate inside, but he pulls it down the line. And what he does so well is he just pulls his arms in on that pitch inside and hits it with his arm and upper body. He doesn't really turn on it.
I mean, a lot of guys don't keep a ball like that fair.
Exactly. Well, he just turned. He used his arms, not his hands.
Eric Karras swings and misses at the curveball. 0-1. Karras called out on strikes his first at bat. Six to 1, Chicago leading. We're in the last of the third. Eric Karras, the veteran, has been platooning as he tries to go to the right side into the upper deck. Been platooning with Hee-Seop Choi. Hee-Seop Choi, who suffered a stunning injury yesterday. It turned out to be a severe concussion that he suffered to stop the game. I mean, he lay motionless on the field for 17 minutes. Karras does not get the ball to the right side. Alou has to hold as Ventura throws out Eric Karras. More baseball tomorrow night on ESPN. The Phillies, who swept a doubleheader from Oakland today against the world champion Angels. Jim Thome and the Phillies up against Garrett Anderson and the Angels. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN. Vicente Padilla up against Jared Washburn in that one. There'll be plenty of sluggers in that ball game. Phillies and Angels tomorrow night on ESPN. So 1 out. Alou still at second. Here is Ramon Martinez, who homered his first time. And that breaking ball snaps in there for a strike. Anyway, with Hee-Seop Choi, he was placed on the disabled list today. And Kelton has been brought up from Iowa to replace him on the roster. But we wanted to send along best wishes to Hee-Seop Choi. And Peter Pasquarelli did some checking so that we could wish him well and get well soon in Korean, which, according to Peter, is Palewe Bok Haseo. Hee-Seop. Hee-Seop is his name. Palewe Bok Haseo Hee-Seop. And we mean that from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, just in case he didn't understand you, get well soon.
Yeah. Get well soon,
get well
big
soon,
guy.
Big guy, yeah.
There you go. Get well, Big Choi. From the Cubs dugout.
That's what Dusty calls him. Dusty calls him Big Choi.
Terry Wood, who was actually involved in the collision with him and who was just so concerned. And the word from the hospital was that when somebody was finally allowed to talk to Choi, his first question was, how's Woody? meaning Kerry Wood. And that's going to go back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike to Damian Miller.
Very unusual injury that occurred yesterday. Giambi pops it up. And you can see Kerry Wood was trying to catch it. And Choi ends up making the catch, but his head hits the dirt. It didn't hit any grass, and that's where the injury occurred.
A ball and 2 strikes now to Damian Miller. 2 down. Alou at second. We're in the 3rd inning. Now, our colleague, Rick Sutcliffe, who will be part of the crew working the game tomorrow night from Anaheim with the Phillies and the Angels. And Rick was a big star here for the Cubs for many, many years. And he said he had never saw, in all his years here, an ambulance ever come onto the field at Wrigley Field. So it was, I mean, it cast a pall over everyone here, and everyone is so thankful and grateful that Choi seems to be okay. 2-2 the count to Damian Miller. Jeff Weaver, the second Yankee pitcher of the game. We're only in the 3rd inning. Curve off the outside. Full count now. You got the pitcher up next, Mark Pryor, but again, he's not merely a pitcher. He is a threat with the bat.
Yeah, a very good hitting pitcher.
And he struck him out. Another breaking ball, and the inning is over. When we come back, Mark Pryor will talk to us about his surprise meeting with Tom Seaver earlier this year. Stay tuned. 6-1, the Cubs leading. Mark Pryor on the mound for Chicago. Earlier this year, Tom Seaver asked to have his photo taken with Mark Pryor. So we asked Mark about meeting Tom Seaver.
He just basically had somebody come get me, and we sat behind the batting cage and talked for a few minutes, and that was a thrill for me. You know, granted, he went to SC, and so there's that kind of connection we have, but just the fact that, you know, he said, you know, you're a great pitcher, I hope you do well, and I'm looking forward, you know, to things to come, was just a big honor for me, and, you know, that was, like I said, it was just a big thrill at the beginning of the year.
Well, I guess that would be a big thrill.
Yeah.
I mean, not for you personally.
Well, it was an honor for me when I met Tom Seaver.
A fellow Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but when I first met him, it was an honor. When I met him, other than him standing on the mound throwing at me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's blowing you away.
Yeah, blowing me away. Yeah, that's what I mean.
He didn't always blow you away, did he?
You know, actually, one of the greatest feats I saw, we were playing against Seaver, and he was pitching. Perez, bench, a lot of guys got a lot of hits. I probably walked, but we got a few hits. And we scored about 4 or 5 runs off of him. And it looked like it was going to be one of those days where you can get to him, you know. And they came back and scored 4 runs, and all of a sudden, the game was over. I mean, he struck out like 13 guys over the next 5 innings. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
3-2 now to Robin Ventura, who struck out his first time. One of 6 strikeouts so far for Mark Pryor in the first 3 innings. Mondesi and Matsui will follow. 6-1, the Cubs lead the Yankees. And he stays alive there. Well, we looked at, we've been watching Mark Pryor, and this is very early in his career, but at about the same point, the same number of starts in Tom Seaver's career. He had 14 wins, his ERA a little bit better, but Pryor got a lot more strikeouts than Seaver had at this point. And that's up and away. So a leadoff walk to Ventura, the first walk allowed so far by Pryor. Both power pitchers, Seaver and Pryor, that's for sure.
Well, I think Tom Seaver used more leg drives. You see his right knee touches the ground when he releases it. That's how low he gets and stays through his delivery. Pryor's a little different. He's 6'5", that's one of the reasons. And he doesn't get as low. He throws from a higher angle than Tom Seaver did.
Mark Pryor to Raul Mondesi. Mondesi hit a double his first time. 1 ball and no strikes.
And one thing that Pryor's been able to give the Cubs, you know, is some innings. I mean, he's in all of his 12 starts, he's gone at least 6 innings. That's pretty big in this day and age. I mean,
for a young guy to be able to go out there and do that on a consistent basis. And they've won 8 out of the 12 games that he started.
A 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he blew right by Mondesi. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mondesi hit a hustle double to start the 2nd inning. Yankees have had 2 innings that started with doubles, but they were not able to get that runner home in either situation. 1-2 the count, the breaking ball. The 1 Yankee run was on Giambi's 3rd inning home run.
And one thing I'm noticing is he must be very deceptive with his breaking ball, John. I mean, we see a lot of hitters swinging at bad breaking balls against him. So he must have very good deception. It must look exactly, his release point must look very, very similar to his fastball release point. A lot of times young pitchers will throw one pitch from one angle and another, the second slider, from a different angle.
Oh, man. Strike 3 called, and that one fooled him. Another look from K-Zone presented by Carfax at that pitch.
Well, it says it was a perfect pitch. Knee high over the outside corner. I'm not sure Mondesi agrees, but K-Zone agreed with home plate umpire Jim Reynolds.
Now Matsui. Strike, a fastball on the outside. Matsui was hit by a pitch his first time. 5 homers, but he's hit 2 of them in just the last few days. Chased that high fastball and fouled it up onto the rooftop. 0-2 the count. From across the street, another rooftop, and that's where Rick Suck. What, Suck couldn't get a ticket? You couldn't get Sutt in this game?
Well, he may figure that's the best seat in the house, because he probably gets free drinks over there. I'm sure he drinks water and Cokes, but I'm sure he gets it free.
1-2 to Matsui.
John, when I see Matsui, I think about what Ichiro told us when I interviewed him in Seattle. He said he was worried about adjusting culturally to this, to this country. And I'm just wondering if Matsui is having a problem doing that. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to come from another country and adjust to the culture here, as well as trying to play Major League Baseball. That's a difficult thing. There's a lot of things that a lot of Latin players have that problem, coming and adjusting to a new place. I mean, it's not that simple to do. We take it for granted because we live here. But when you come this far and you're playing that far away from your home country, it can be very difficult.
Especially under the
watchful eye.
The very, well, not only the watchful eye of the owner, George Steinbrenner, but a very large spotlight in the big city with a reputation that preceded him.
Right. And a lot of the Japanese players wanted to play in New York. Remember, Hideki Arabu wanted to play there, and even I guess Nomo thought about it.
Well, Nomo played for a while with the Mets. Originally signed with LA, though. And nope. Great effort there from third base by Ramon Martinez. It was the only hope that he had, but Ventura did beat the throw to second.
And a good job by Ventura to hustle to second base. And actually a good job by Matsui just to put the ball in play.
I think Matsui's ball actually started foul.
Well, you can see that Martinez grabs it, fires to second. Not in time.
Grudzielanek actually might have had him if he'd been able to find that bag again.
Yeah.
Came off the bag to get that throw, and then when he reached back, I think he missed the bag.
But I think he made the wise choice. You make sure you catch the ball. Don't let the ball go into the outfield trying to hold the bag at second and, help the Yankees, in a rally.
Yankees have not had a hit with a man in scoring position. There's that hard, tight breaking ball. 0-1 to Rivera, who hit a double play ball his first time on a breaking ball. Yankees are 0 for 5 as a team tonight in these at-bats where a base hit could mean a run. Roger Clemens, who's got that upper respiratory ailment that caused an early hook for him
yesterday, but he's joined his teammates in the dugout now. A foul back to the screen on a fastball. It's 0-2.
And I think that's another thing that Joe Torre and the Yankees are going to have to deal with. You know, they're struggling right now, not playing their best baseball. But they're also going to have to deal with how do we get Roger Clemens his 300th win. I mean, every time they go out there now, pressure is going to be on all the players as well as Roger. Because, you know, this will be the 4th time he's trying to get it. And that's where the pressure starts to build.
Clemens and Kerry Wood. Everybody who was here yesterday will long remember that matchup. That one is just one out. A liner caught by Gonzalez, but not quite in time. Radzalana covering at second to double up Ventura.
Good job of base running by Ventura to make sure you're not double off. Your run doesn't mean a lot, so you have to always be conscious of where everyone's playing, and you can see he gets back. It's a close play, but he gets back at first up to second base. Tie goes to the runner, right?
Yeah, well, the ball's got to beat him there.
Yeah.
If they get there at the same time, that's too late.
Yeah.
Well, now you got the pitcher spot due. And the Yankees are going to send up the veteran Ruben Sierra, just acquired this week. The Yankees without Bernie Williams, one of their best hitters year in and year out. Bernie had some knee surgery. And there's Sterling Hitchcock up in the bullpen. Jeff Weaver is finished for the night. As the Yankees try to work their way back into this game. They've got ample time to do it, but they need to start taking advantage of situations like this. A couple of base runners on there. So Sierra gets the call here.
And Sierra had a pinch hit single in yesterday's ball game.
That was his first at bat as a Yankee. So he is 1 for 1. 269 overall this year. 2 men on, 2 men out. Sharp breaking ball a little bit low.
Ruben Sierra, very good fastball hitter. So they try to throw him a lot of breaking balls if they can get him over.
Sosa in a little bit. And the inning is over. Well, the Yankees are now 0 for 7 with men in scoring position. Pryor will be coming up. 6-1 Cubs. We're in Chicago. The Chicago Cubs 6. The New York Yankees 1 in the rubber match of this 3-game series. The mighty Yankees have come to Chicago for the first time in 65 years. But the Cubs have got the best of them so far here tonight as Sterling Hitchcock, the left-hander, comes on. And he is the 3rd Yankee pitcher already to have been used in this game. Hitchcock to face the pitcher for the Cubs, Mark Pryor, and then the top of the order will follow. We're joined in the booth by a longtime Cubs fan. I guess he was born into being a Cubs fan. He could have been a Sox fan. No. We'll find out as Jim Belushi has stopped by. Jim, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, John. It's good to be here. It's good to be in Wrigley Field again. Look at this.
Now, that's a strike on the outside.
That's a strike.
Now, how did it come that you ended up it's a two-city town? How did you end up being a Cubs fan and not a Sox fan?
Very simple, John. The marketing of the Cubs when I was a kid was incredible. They would invite your Cub Scouts to the game and for free. And then Jack Brickhouse would say, you know, it's a great day in Wrigley Field when Den 10 from Wheaton, Illinois comes down to watch the Cubbies play, and that was it. We became Cubs fans immediately. So I've been a Cub fan since I was a Cub Scout. I don't know, 70 years old.
All right, now you have a show every Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern, on ABC television called According to Jim.
Yeah, it's Tuesday nights, ABC, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central.
Oh, it's not 8:30?
No, it's 9 o'clock. We moved to 9 o'clock. We're coming up on the new season at 9 o'clock. Yeah,
well,
they just changed it, John.
I'm so glad you came by then.
So glad to tell everybody, too. It's a great show. It actually takes place in Chicago. And my character is a big Cub and Bears fan, like I am, not too far from me.
And the name of the show is According to Jim. Now, we were having a little argument about that.
I thought it was, I'd watched it, but I thought it was Life According to Jim.
I told Joe that was just way off, not even close.
No, that's close. I mean, it's implied life according. You know?
But I mean, according to Jim, that's what I wanted to know. I mean, what according to Jim?
See, live. See, if you watch the show, you'll see it's live. So that's where I got that.
Live according to Jim. This is Harry Carey's old box, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, miss Harry. I used to come up here and see him all the time during the day. This is the booth. This is where he used to lean out, isn't it? Hey!
It's Harry's booth. We just borrow it.
We're just borrowing it, isn't it? It's always been his booth. Our brick house used to be here though too.
Now, what about the Cubs playing the Yankees? First time 65 years. I mean, there's been an electricity in town for 3 days.
3 days? What do you mean? For months they've been talking about this gathering. For months. Are you going? Are you going? Are you going? Can you get tickets? Can you get tickets? You know, and it's like ESPN and ABC are sisters, so that was the only way I got here. Because this ticket was the hottest ticket in town. It's so exciting to watch these two. And what makes it more exciting?
Cubs are winning.
The Cubs are winning.
I figured that.
Now, how big is that for the Cubs to be beating the Yankees?
I think it's terrific. I mean, and with Dusty Baker, too. I talked to him a little earlier. So were you, Giambi?
Yeah. You interviewed him after I did.
Yeah, he's got a great spirit, and he is a player's coach, and you can see it in their performance this year so far.
1-1 to Grudzielanek. And 1-2 as Hitchcock gets one by him. 6-1, the Cubs lead.
How about this Pryor, the pitcher? He's really hot.
Well, I mean, he has all the equipment to be a great pitcher. Good fastball, good breaking ball, and composure. He has a great presence out there on the mound.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he gave up a leadoff double to start the game to Soriano and didn't get rattled at all.
Hey, you got to get the cobwebs out. You know, it's a little warm up. You know, because of the rain this afternoon, there was no batting practice. There was no throwing. There was no warm up at all. So they're warming up in that first inning, you know.
Grudzielanek has singled and grounded out. 6-1. The Cubs knocked out the Yankee starter, Andy Pettitte, in the second inning of the game. There's Robin Ventura. That throw did not have much on it, but just in time. And Grudzielanek didn't think so. And he has a few words for Dale Scott, the umpire over there. What did you think, Jim?
From here?
Yeah.
Out.
According to Jim, he's out.
According to me.
According to Jim.
All right, let's see this thing. Ooh.
Couldn't get much on the throw.
Really.
Well, you want to change your opinion or what?
That was pretty damn close, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Maybe I got to see that one more time. Maybe he got robbed. Maybe he got robbed.
2 down. Here's Alex Gonzalez. Now, this was a hard ticket to get. Don Zimmer said that his wife has been, for 6 months, ever since it came on the schedule, they were getting mail from people with blank checks saying just fill out however much for a couple of tickets to that series.
Yeah.
And that's a ball. And now you actually went to work today.
I did a little interview. Yes, I did some interviews with the ball players. Also went on the bleachers, talked to some of the guys on the bleacher. And they got a lot of home run balls out there.
What's it like in the bleachers?
You know what? It was a ball. It's really fun. Actually, it's a great view. Those seats have gotten more expensive, actually.
Is that where you used to sit as a kid?
No. We always sat out here.
You sat behind the dugout?
Well, a little farther back as a kid, you know.
A few rows back behind the dugout.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You mean you didn't sit in the bleachers as a kid?
No, not as a kid.
Oh, you're a little rich kid or something?
No. Just we didn't come out. You know, I was born in Chicago, and then we moved out to Wheaton, and from Wheaton we came out, and we just got seats probably underneath the terraces here. And then when I was in Chicago, Second City, Jack Brickhouse always got us great seats.
What about there? You ever go out and look for souvenirs as a kid?
That's my old apartment right there. Right there, little basement apartment right there. There you go.
That's a true story?
No, I'm making that up.
I mean, when you got this show on Tuesdays at 9 on ABC called According to Jim, I mean, you say something like that, we're going with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim Belushi, check him out. Thanks, Jim, for stopping by.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you, Joe, for having me.
6-1.
Go Cubs.
The Yankees need some runs. They're down 6-1. Alfonso Soriano taking a called strike from Mark Pryor. Soriano has hit a double to left center and struck out. Oh, there's that nasty breaking ball. It's 0-2.
Well, he is having problem recognizing that pitch, but again, I think it's more Pryor in his delivery. I mean, each pitch must look the same coming out of his hand.
So you mean like the same release point?
Same release point, same. It looked like that.
0-2 the count. Oh, got him swinging. Another one. The 8th strikeout for Pryor.
Well, again, these pitchers are not strikes. Look, it starts in the strike zone. It's in the strike zone there. Now, all of a sudden, it starts to dive, and you see Soriano trying to get to it.
You know, if we took strike 3 to Soriano in the 3rd inning and matched it up with that pitch,
look the
strike
same.
3 here, I think we'd find out it was exactly the same.
And so he found out something that worked. He tried again.
Here's Derek Jeter. He has struck out twice. He is 0 for 2 in the game. Giambi on deck. Fastball off the outside.
Just a little tidbit I learned about Jeter. His birthday is June 26th.
Yeah.
Another baseball person is June 26th.
Yeah.
His birthday.
That's a strike.
The mythical inventor of the game, Abner Doubleday, was born on June 26th.
Derek Jeter and Abner Doubleday?
On the same day, birthday.
But did he really invent the game?
Well, I said the mythical. I mean, it's a myth that we may expose, just like there's a myth that Babe Ruth called his shot.
Well, that's my next question.
Yeah, we may
Did he really
that.
call it or not?
Yes, he called it.
In 1932?
I believe he called it.
He pointed out to the bleachers and then boom, he hit it?
Yes, I believe he called it.
Jeter just got a piece of that breaking ball. And again, Pryor says he doesn't throw a slider, that he's got that harder, tighter, kind of a slurve type pitch. Yeah. And that's what that one was. He's got the bigger, slower curveball. 1-2 to Jeter. Giambi on deck. The Yankees need base runners. They need 5 to tie. We're in the 5th inning. And Jeter, very protective swing that time on that that hard slurve. 1-2.
That's what you call an emergency swing.
Here's Soriano's 2 strikeouts on K-Zone presented by Carfax. That was the 3rd inning. And what we just saw now.
Looked like identical pitches, right?
Wow. It was just it was a little darker here in the ballpark on that second one. It was about the only difference. 8 strikeouts for Pryor, and that is too low. So Jeter giving him a battle here.
And it's a good job by Jeter. I mean, you've seen him a couple of times, and you struck out both of those times, but you at least had to learn something about his release point and how much his ball is moving.
And you saw Pryor's pitch count is mounting. The high, hard one, and Jeter stayed alive with it. 2-2. Jason Giambi on deck. He homered his last time. So Jeter trying to get aboard for the Giambino. I'm getting into that, Joe. 2-2. Did he swing? Yeah, strike 3. Number 9 for Pryor, and he's gotten Jeter 3 times.
Well, his breaking ball is just so difficult, it seems to lay off of. That's why it's so tough. I mean, the hitters aren't able to recognize it quick enough that they can lay off of it. I mean, look at that. I mean, the ball starts in the strike zone, but halfway there, it's out of the strike zone. And they're just not able to lay off.
Now Giambi, and that curve is low. Now the Yankees, in these interleague games Thursday, the Cincinnati Reds struck out 10 of them. Friday, 10 Yankees struck out here at Wrigley Field. That fastball is a strike. Yesterday, in Kerry Wood's start, Wood alone had 11 strikeouts, and there were 13 total strikeouts of the Yankees. So they come into the game tonight with 3 straight games of 10 strikeouts or more. Do the Yankees? I mean, against the Yankees. That's the longest streak by a Yankee team for that to happen since 1966.
Well, you can see the fans are definitely getting into it.
Pryor is 1 strikeout away from 10 tonight, which would be the 4th straight game for that to happen to the Yankees. The crowd on its feet. Giambi into shallow left. Alou. And that's the inning. The top of the order goes down in order. Patterson and then that man, Sammy Sosa, coming up.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Nextel. Brought to you by Ford. If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again.
Wrigley Field, Chicago. Waveland Avenue, there's been 1 ball hit out there tonight, that by Moises Alou of the Cubs in the first inning. Now here is Corey Patterson, who has had a single and a triple. He has scored 1 and driven home 1. Patterson, having an excellent start to his season, has lifted his average up to 325. Look at all those RBIs. Leading the Cubs with 46 driven in. Facing the left-hander Hitchcock here. And the count is now a ball and a strike. Now, Gary Matthews, the hitting instructor for the Cubs, talking about Corey Patterson. And he told me that last week they had that 17-inning game. Sosa was back just off the disabled list. And Houston actually walked Patterson intentionally in extra innings to pitch to Sammy with a right-hander on the mound. One of that young hard thrower that we saw out of the bullpen, Brad Lidge. They walked Patterson to pitch to Sammy.
Man,
now that's
respect from
a lot
Corey
of respect.
Patterson.
That's right. 1-2 the count. And the slider in the dirt struck him out. 1 away. Sammy was just back from the disabled list. He struck out 8 times in his first 2 games. Although in that 17-inning game, he got the last word. He drove in the winning run. The only run of that game he knocked in the 17th. And they're getting ready out on Waveland Avenue. Getting into position. Sammy's had a lot of balls out there. Fastball away from Hitchcock. Cubs already leading 6-1. Sammy has not homered since he hit one in San Francisco back on May the 1st. Changeup. And that's probably Hitchcock's best pitch, the changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sammy has led the Cubs in homers for 10 consecutive years. Only one other player in Major League history has led one team in homers for 10 straight years, and that was the great Henry Aaron. Just off the outside with another changeup, 2-1. Aaron led the Braves in homers for 11 straight years. So Sammy with a chance to tie one of the Hammer's all-time home run records if he could lead the Cubs again this year. That he's only hit 6 up till now. That's called a strike at the knees. And Sosa did not like that call by Jim Reynolds.
Let's take a look. Perfect pitch. Knee high toward the outside corner.
That was one of the directives this year. It was felt that in the past that low strike had not been called enough. That the pitch that actually was in the strike zone was not being called to strike that often. 2-2 to Sosa. And the breaking ball in the dirt, strike 3. Sammy is 0 for 2 with a walk in this one. 2 down.
Well, against a left-handed pitcher, you do not see Sammy commit that quickly too often. That just tells you that he is definitely struggling, because you do not have to commit as quickly against a left-handed pitcher because you have more time. And Sammy had been waiting a lot better. Last couple of years, he'd been perfect in the batter's box, going to right center, left center. But now, I mean, when you're struggling, you don't see the ball as well, and you move quicker. to try to make up for the fact that you're not seeing it well.
Moises Alou. Curveball, ball one. Moises with a booming 3-run homer out onto Waveland Avenue in the first inning. First 3 runs of the game. And then he hit a double down the left field line in the third on a pitch, a fastball that was way inside. So he is 2 for 2. Charged by Ventura, the barehanded pickup, and he throws him out.
Nice play.
3 up, 3 down. When we come back, Joe Morgan chats with manager Dusty Baker about Sammy Sosa. Stay tuned. In the Central, the Astros have been very hot lately. Both Wade Miller and Roy Oswalt are pitching well now. Up top, then the Cubs, and then the Cardinals. Tightly bunched. The Reds are still in it. Only 5.5 out. Ken Griffey Jr. is back, hitting home runs. And Adam Dunn leads the major leagues in hitting home runs. Austin Kearns over 50 RBIs. They've got some talent in that Cincinnati club. The pitching, sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. 1-1 to Jorge Posada, the cleanup man. He's been hit by a pitch and he's flied out to left center. Robin Ventura and Raul Mondesi to follow against the young, powerful right-hander Mark Pryor. There's Ventura on deck. I mean, that pitch is, it reminds me of Clemens' splitter in the kind of swings we're seeing at it.
Well, the one thing that tells you that it's a great pitch, we haven't seen one put in play, have we?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so that's the whole point right there. And if they're not putting it in play, that tells you how good a pitch it is.
I mean, the last, I don't know, 3-4 innings, he's had that hard, tight, biting breaking ball. There's Mel Stottlemyre on the right, the Yankee pitching coach, chatting with the Rocket, Roger Clemens.
Well, I did see someone put one in play. That was Soriano. He hit the double, the hanging breaking ball in the first inning.
Yeah. I mean, the first batter of the game.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, these last 3-4 innings, every one of those hard ones he's thrown has been down there. Right. Starts at the knees and then disappears.
And that's a good job there by Posada to lay off of that pitch.
3-2. The high fastball. Hurrying out, Gonzalez. Nice play. Joe Morgan chatted with Dusty Baker in the Cubs dugout before the game.
I know you very well, but what is this Sammy Sosa incident caused you to change about the way you manage?
Nothing really. I mean, what it's done actually is hopefully made my team stronger as a unit. You know, I mean, help us to, because Sammy's ours. You know, whether you agree what happened or you disagree what happened, it's sort of like a family member that makes a mistake. You know, he's still our family. And what it's done probably more than anything is just let me look at the options that I have when Sammy's out. You know, let me look at the options on how we can, cover that space, which is a big hole in our lineup, by Sammy being out. And so, you stay up sometime thinking of different scenarios, different lineups, different things, different matchups. And quite frankly, just made me have to talk a lot more than I wanted to talk.
Well, what he was talking, he says, made him talk a little bit more than he wanted to talk because he gets the same question over and over almost every day, about Sammy.
2 down, nobody on, and Raul Mondesi, the hitter for the Yankees. Pryor is on a roll right now. That sharp breaking ball, too low. Actually, that sharp breaking ball reminds me more of Randy Johnson's slider.
Well, good point, because we do not see guys put his slider in play very often.
I mean, when he's on with it, it's always down around the knees and then disappears. 1 ball and no strikes, fastball away. But now Sammy Sosa, and a lot of skepticism about Sammy's story that he, mistakenly brought the wrong bat to the plate.
Well, I think his story has more validity because all the 76 bats that they found here were negative.
That ball is driven deep into left field. Mondesi has a home run into the bleachers. Raul Mondesi, who earlier hit a double, launches one into the bleachers. It is 6-2 Chicago.
I don't know if I'd throw a ball back, Yankees and the Cubs. Maybe they brought some with them, and that's just one other one they're throwing back. Yeah, that one, that's not it. That's not the ball he hit out.
It's a smart strategy, though.
Yeah. Well, Mondesi has been able to handle his fastball. I mean, he's basically the only one. That one's away and up a little bit. He handled the other one, though, that was away and up. He hit it in the gap in left center. So he has been able to handle Pryor's fastball.
Now Matsui. And look at that. He just, we were praising him for that breaking ball. He hangs one very high. 1 ball and no strikes. Matsui's had an infield single. He's also been hit by a pitch. That's a liner for a base hit into the alleyway. Patterson cuts it off. Matsui digging for second. And he'll make it standing with a double. And Matsui, since Thursday, has had the hot hand.
Well, what he's doing is he's fighting the ball off the other way. And he's doing a good job of it. You know, we saw him hit a little ground ball down the third base line for a base hit last time. Fastball away. And he fights this one off away also and goes the other way with it. And that's a good job of hitting there. I mean, and you're right. He has found his stroke the last few ball games.
Well, there's Larry Rothschild out to chat with Mark Pryor. One thing we know that he's not talking to Pryor about is this. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. MLB.com has the widest selection of items for the team you love. Shop MLB.com, the official site of wearing your heart on your sleeve, your cap, your pullover, and lots more than that. MLB.com. Check it out. Another hard thrower. Kyle Farnsworth has started to warm up now in the Cubs bullpen. Matsui just hitting his 21st double of the year. And Rivera base hit to right field. Matsui heading home. Sosa's throw cut off back to first, not in time. Karras cut it off and fed to Grudzielanek, who circled in behind Rivera. 3 straight hits for the Yankees. It is now 6-3. Pryor up around 100 pitches for the game, and he might be losing it.
Well, that's a good job of hitting there by Rivera. You know, we've seen him miss fastballs, seen him miss breaking balls. He just fights this one off again. He doesn't try to pull it. He goes the other way, as we saw from Matsui. And that seems to be a better deal, a better way to attack Pryor, is go the other way. And Rivera's injured his knee, I guess, trying to get back to first base. But I think he says he's okay.
So Rivera with his first hit of the game. And now Bubba Trammell, the veteran, off the bench to pinch hit for Sterling Hitchcock. Hitchcock has worked 2 perfect innings out of the Yankee bullpen. The Yankee bullpen, of course, is busy. You see Trammell, who has seen Pryor before and has done well against him. There is Juan Acevedo. 0-1. Pryor came up for the last couple of months last year and ended up winning 6 ball games. Trammell was with the San Diego Padres last year. Powerful right-handed hitter. Oh, man. Well, he swung at the slider out of the strike zone and took the fastball in there.
Well, the fastball, that one was tailing back in. Not much he could do there after the first pitch.
Six to 3, the Cubs lead. Runner at first, 2 down. And he took that one, the breaking ball, down and away. The slurs.
No, if you watch Pryor, I mean, he has 2 out pitches, the fastball and the slurs. Only Pedro Martinez has 3. I mean, most guys will have 2, and they can be dominant with those 2.
Again, he took it. This one, called strike 3. Trammell very unhappy about that call. That is the 10th strikeout for Pryor. 6-3, Chicago after 5.5.
I'll be back.
As Acevedo, who came in to face Eric Karras yesterday with a 1-0 lead, trying to protect a lead for Roger Clemens. On his first pitch, Eric Karras hit a home run. I think that's the pitch that he had wanted to throw yesterday, but didn't. He threw a high fastball out over the plate, and Karras knew just what to do with it. A curve, line to center, base hit. First Cubs base runner since Alou led off to third with a double. Acevedo and Karras, this was the same matchup when Acevedo came in yesterday. This was his first pitch.
Well, he throws him some high cheese in. That ball was in, and Karras deposits it in the left field and helps win the ball game for the Cubs.
Acevedo, who was a closer for the Detroit Tigers last year, and he has been in a slump. He does have 6 saves. He did some closing for the Yankees this year when Mariano Rivera was on the disabled list. That ball out of play off the bat of Ramon Martinez. Ramon has homered and struck out in this game. A lot of talk around baseball that the Cubs are in the market for a proven run-producing third baseman. And the name Mike Lowell, who's with the Florida Marlins, keeps coming up.
Well, he is a true run-producing third baseman.
Yeah.
That works.
That should be 2. Jeter, the second one. Soriano slips and falls. So they get just the 1.
Well, it looks like that he's not playing with baseball spikes on, and when you slip, yep, he doesn't have spikes on. And he slips on the top of the base. It looks like he's got, you know, more like a, not necessarily a tennis shoe, but see, there aren't any spikes underneath there. See, well, he does have spikes. Maybe they're just full of dirt.
Damian Miller takes a strike called from Acevedo.
But he definitely slipped on top of the bag.
We had a little quicksand on top of that bag.
Yeah.
Damian Miller has singled and scored a run and struck out. 6-3, the Cubs are leading. Pryor due up next, but Lenny Harris has come out on deck. The runner going, the ball is lined to left. Rivera's going to throw back to first, and it hits the runner. Backed up by Posada, and it had not hit the runner. Rivera might have turned that one into a double play.
No doubt. I mean, the throw, it was a great throw, and it was going to beat him at first, back to first base. But it did hit the runner in the back, and it looks like they are going to pinch hit for Pryor. Well, Miller's running, so he's going to be close to second base. There you see, stopped short. Rivera fires to first base. Martinez, that is, he gets back as the ball hits him in the back. Miller hit the line drive.
Well, here's the pinch hitting specialist, Lenny Harris. He's had more pinch hits in his career than any player in baseball history. And he takes ball 1 from Acevedo.
Not only is he a good pinch hitter, John, he's a great guy to have on the ball club. He's one of those guys that just helps make things go smoothly in the clubhouse. And he's pinch hitting for Mark Pryor. And again, he goes 6 innings and the 10 strikeouts.
Pryor with 9 double-figure strikeout games. You see Farnsworth, another flamethrower. I mean, he throws real hard. I mean, 98, 99, 100 mile an hour hard. But 9 double-figure strikeout games in Pryor's young career. He's only had 32 starts. And in 9 of them, he struck out 10 or more. Two and 1 to Lenny Harris. This one will go to the Cubs bullpen. Pryor threw 106 pitches. And the Yankees, you know, that's been kind of their stock and trade over the years. Pitchers often don't last as long against them as against other ball clubs.
Take a look at this. Just a little bit low.
2-2 the count to Lenny Harris. Raul Mondesi. So the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 left. Now we head to the late innings. The top of the order coming up against the Cubs bullpen. Pryor is out. Farnsworth coming in.
By Nextel. Tonight from Wrigley Field, Chicago. The Chicago Cubs of the National League, the New York Yankees of the American League. The rubber match of their 3-game interleague series. This weekend marking the first time the Cubs and Yankees have played since 1938. They've met each other in 2 different World Series in the 30s. Here's Farnsworth, a 97-mile-an-hour fastball to Soriano, fouled back to the backstop. It is 0-1.
Well, it doesn't. I know he throws hard, but I don't think the Yankees mind, especially Jeter and Soriano, because they were not having much success against Pryor, so they would rather try someone else.
And Soriano twice struck out against that devastating breaking ball of Pryor. Well, that one was pretty tough, too. Man. 0-2 the count. Hard slider.
Well, that ball bounced way out in front of the plate.
Soriano has seen 11 pitches, and they've either all been swung at or been called strikes. Pryor watching from the dugout. Cubs bullpen is busy as well. The 0-2 pitch. He went back to it again this time. Soriano took it. Derek Jeter on deck, then Jason Giambi. The Yankees with visions of a comeback in this one. At one point they were down 6-0, but now it is 6-3. Jason Giambi, up third of the inning, knocked in a run with a homer back in the third to start the Yankees comeback. And that slider is chased by Soriano and bounced foul.
Excellent pitch there, because there wasn't much he could do with it. Just kind of rolled his hands over. Someone in the outfield keeping score.
Well, it's, for a baseball fan, an historic weekend.
Correct.
Yankees at Wrigley Field. They were here in 1932. That was Babe Ruth's last World Series, the one in which he hit the fabled called shot against Charlie Root right here at Wrigley. Ooh, the fastball in on the hands, fouled away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1938. The Yankees, the last time they were here, actually, was Game 2 of that World Series, and Dizzy Dean was the pitcher for the Cubs. Dizzy Dean, who had injured his arm and was featuring what he himself called his nothing ball. And it is 2-2. And Dean, by all accounts, just pitched one of the gritty, determined games that anybody had ever seen. You know, throwing that nothing ball over and over again. And then finally gave it up in the 8th inning. Frankie Crosetti hit a home run against him to put the Yankees ahead. And then in the next inning, Joe DiMaggio hit a home run after Tommy Henrik had gotten a base hit.
Well, good job here by Soriano, fighting off some tough pitches from Farnsworth. He was featuring a nothing ball, huh?
Well, as he called it, the nothing, not nothing.
Oh, okay.
The nothing ball.
Okay.
That, you know, that scoreboard, that might have been here back then too, Joe. And Soriano continues to battle it out here with Farnsworth.
John, we were talking about, you know, how tough a ticket this was. You know, I have to tell you, my buddy Mike Alicia's not here with us because he's a little bit under the weather. And this is the first time we've been to Chicago to do a game that he hasn't been here.
Wow.
So he's at home under the weather, but he's watching. So.
The Iron Man, Mike Alicia.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
2-2 the count. And that is ball 3. Well, Soriano's given quite a battle here to Farnsworth.
A great job. I mean, he started 0-2. And now he's worked the count to 3-2, and the Yankees need base runners.
This will be the 10th pitch of this battle. And Joe Torre would like to see Soriano get aboard here, and the Yankees could get serious about this comeback.
Kyle Farnsworth needing a strike. And he walks him. He threw him a slider in the dirt with a 3-run lead. So the Yanks get that leadoff man aboard with Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor watching from the dugout.
There's a breaking ball in the dirt. Breaking ball at Giambi. And we see Soriano chasing it. Call strike 3 on Mondesi. Soriano chases again. Jeter. It's just very difficult to lay off of. And that was the last one, the 10th one to Trammell.
Yeah, so 10 strikeouts, and as you saw there, 7 of them on that breaking pitch. Here's Derek Jeter. He struck out 3 times against Pryor. Shows bunt and takes low. That drew third baseman Ramon Martinez in a hurry.
I think you have to be a little surprised, as you mentioned, Johnny. He threw a 3-2 breaking ball with a 3-run lead to Soriano. The reason you're surprised because he hadn't thrown a strike with the breaking ball the entire at bat. You know, he had thrown pitches that Soriano had fought off, but he had only been able to throw a strike with a fastball.
1 ball and no strike to Derek Jeter. 3 strikeouts for Jeter. And Soriano back to the bag, and that was fairly close. Speaking of strikes, though, Joe, back in the 38 series, you mentioned Frankie Crosetti hit the home run against Dizzy Dean.
Right.
On a 2-2 pitch, Dean thought he had him struck out.
Right.
Umpire said ball 3. The next pitch, home run.
On the nothing ball.
On the nothing ball. This should be 2. They get 1, and Gonzalez to first. 2. A double play.
Well, not a good night for Jeter. He struck out 3 times against Pryor, and he hits this ball pretty sharply, but he hits it in the wrong spot. Sinker away, and he hits it in the wrong spot because, you know, they're playing up the middle for the double play, and right there, they're waiting for it.
Dusty Baker now with Giambi coming up, and he's got his veteran left-hander, Mike Remlinger, ready. So he's coming in to face Giambi when we come back.
The herd is constantly migrating, driven by instinct to where the signal is weakest. The antelope live as they always have, man's unwitting accomplice in making coast-to-coast walkie-talkies possible, bred to instantly relay radio signals as they frolic, graze, and even mate across the vast reaches of America.
No, that's not how we did it. Introducing Nextel's coast-to-coast walkie-talkie. Now that's a walkie-talkie.
Starting today, muscle pain is no reason for not taking off, not touching down, not raging, not ice dancing, not going vertical, not hitting the wall, not hacking, not taking the gloves off, not getting dirty. Introducing new Tylenol 8-Hour with 2 layers, one that's fast and one that lasts. All day, 1 dose. New Tylenol 8-Hour. It's the Tylenol for muscle pain, because not playing is not an option.
Let's say this is you, and this is your auto insurance company. You've always gotten along okay, but let's say this is Allstate. Ooh, looks better than what you got now, huh? Well, qualified drivers who call Allstate for a free auto quote can get a company this good for this kind of price, maybe less. The choice is pretty simple, don't you think? So call Allstate now for an auto quote and find out how you're in good hands with Allstate.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Nextel. Nextel, life's better when your cell phone has a walkie-talkie. And in part by Tylenol Arthritis Pain Extended Relief. Take comfort in our strength.
Wrigley Field, and the Cubs holding a 6-3 lead, and now Mike Remlinger for the 2nd day in a row is summoned from the bullpen by Dusty Baker to face Jason Giambi. And he starts him with the
breaking ball for a strike. Now, yesterday was a little more of an urgency to the situation when Remlinger came in. The bases were loaded in the 8th inning. 2 down. He came on in relief of Kerry Wood to face Giambi, and he struck him out on a 3-2 pitch. And that curveball in there. Strike 2 call.
And then it's interesting. Yesterday he threw him all fastballs until he got to the 3-2 count, and then he threw him a changeup. So today he starts him off differently, throws him 2 breaking balls, and they're playing him to pull. You can see all on the left side, 3 guys on the right side, because they're throwing him off speed pitches.
It's the third baseman, Martinez, now at shortstop. Strike 3 call. And Giambi unhappy about that call. So it is 7th inning stretch time at Wrigley Field. And John Cusack, the star of the hit movie Identity, is here to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Juan Acevedo missing with ball 1 to Mark Grudzielanek as we start the last of the 7th inning. It is 6-3. The Cubs are leading. That's off the glove with a diving Ventura, base hit as Rivera comes in to shallow left to pick it up. John Cusack led the crowd in singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game during the 7th inning stretch.
Take me out to the track. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back, oh, it's root, root, root for the Cubs.
All right. And he got a big ovation as he prefaced his comment about the Cubs beating the Yankees to win this series 2 out of 3 as a prelude to sweeping the Yankees in October in the World Series. And that got a big ovation here at Wrigley Field.
Well, I can understand that.
The man knows how to make an entrance, Joe.
He does.
Alex Gonzalez, the hitter. He is lined into a double play, doubled home a run, and struck out. He's 1 for 3. Grudzielanek, the runner at first. The bunt and a foul. You know, last year, the bullpen was a black hole for the Cubs. I mean, they lost more games late than any other team in the National League. And Andy McPhail went out, and that was one of the, or I say Andy McPhail, Jim Hendry is now the general manager for the Cubs. And Jim Hendry went out. In addition to bringing in Dusty Baker, they fortified that bullpen with guys like Mike Remlinger, who's been a great addition to this Cubs bullpen. Joe Borowski had been filling in for Alfonseca as the closer, and he's done a great job in that capacity. There's Andy McPhail, the president of the Cubs, with George Will, a great Cubs fan, as George said before the game, since 1948.
That's Andy on the right. There's a resemblance there, isn't there?
Well, they both have that excitement about the Cubs and that worry, I guess, at the same time. 0-2 to Alex Gonzalez. Corey Patterson is on deck. The bunt. And Acevedo goes to first, and I beg your pardon, he goes down the right field line. And that one is off the glove of Jeter, and a run will score. Gonzalez bunted it. It went maybe 30 feet from home plate. And then the Yankees started throwing it around, and I'm not sure it stopped rolling yet.
Well, they caught the Yankees off guard because there were 2 strikes. And they didn't expect the bunt, neither did I, for that matter. And he dropped it down perfectly right out in front of home plate. And things started to go haywire from there for the Yankees. Now watch, he picks it up. He throws it inside. And a lot of people say, well, Giambi didn't reach for it. If you reach in there as a right-handed first baseman, I mean, you're really going to get your arm hurt, maybe even broken.
Yeah, that's Cliff Floyd.
Yeah, that's wasn't the, you know, he didn't just give up on the play. He felt like there was nothing he could do to save the play.
Corey Patterson, the hitter. So that is a sacrifice bunt for Gonzalez. No time at bat charge to him. An error on the pitcher, Acevedo, for the wild throw to first base. And then an error charge to the second baseman, Soriano, for his throw to second that Jeter was not able to grab.
I didn't think that was such a bad throw that Soriano made. I'll have to look at it again.
You think Jeter should have caught it?
Yes, but he tried to tag him while catching it.
Patterson deep into left field. Rivera back. Right in front of the ivy. He's got it. Hurrying back to second is Gonzalez, and he just does make it. Patterson now 2 for 4. Gave that one a pretty good ride. Now Sammy Sosa.
Well, nice job by Rivera, and that's actually, you know, that's his forte is defense. He gets out and makes a fine catch, and he shows you he's got a very strong arm. He stops and fires back and almost gets a double play at second.
Gonzalez still at second, 1 out. Sammy Sosa 0 for 2 with a walk. Base hit. Here comes Gonzalez home. Here's the throw by Rivera. Cut off.
I don't know exactly why they cut that. It appeared that there was going to be a play at the plate. And you're already down 8-3. You might just want to let it go through. And you see Sammy getting an ovation. And there's his, as you see, his 2000th base hit.
So a career milestone for Sosa.
Little slide piece. Doesn't slide enough. And he pulls it in the hole for a base hit. Now watch this. Now Rivera, we saw he has a good arm. Now this throw is right on target. And it's cut off. And I don't know exactly why.
Now Moises Alou. And that's low. Here's the ball that was hit by Sosa for his 2000th career hit.
A lot of base hits.
And the fans here in Chicago saluted Sammy, chanted his name.
They're saluting the Yankees now.
Base hit for Alou, and that's his 3rd hit of the game. So Acevedo, who really started his own problems in this inning with a wild throw. Stottlemyre is going to go out to the mound, and Torre is going to call the bullpen.
Fastball right in the middle of the plate, and he hits it right back up the middle. Great job of hitting there by Moises Alou. Just line it back through the middle.
So maybe where that ball ended up in the strike zone, he's lucky that that's all that Moises did with it.
You know, I have to tell you, I saw a great note on Moises Alou. He has 80 racehorses, John. 80 racehorses. He's named some of them after some of his former teammates, like Bags for Bagwell, BGO 7 for Biggio, Craig Biggio, of course. But guess what? He has a horse stable at Belmont, where they ran the 3rd leg of the Triple Crown yesterday. And he's hoping one of these days one of his horses will be running. 80 race horses. I guess he's giving himself a chance anyway.
So he's, sounds like he's actually starting to get serious about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Chris Hammond, the left-hander, up in the Yankee bullpen. Acevedo's given up 3 hits in the inning. Eric Karras, the hitter. A strike. Karras is 1 for 3 in the game. He singled against Acevedo when Acevedo first came into the game in the 6th inning. Yesterday, Karras hit the 3-run homer against Acevedo. And Roger Clemens suddenly, instead of hoping for that 300th win, took a loss in that one. Mondesi makes the catch. Sosa tags up and moves over to 3rd base.
And you were mentioning yesterday that Carroll said that this was the most excitement he's seen at a ballpark yesterday. You know, people have to remember, these are the Yankees. I mean, great tradition, 26 world championships. So anytime they go anyplace, people are going to be looking to knock them off because they represent what is best, you know, about the game. So people are looking to knock them off.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that was a little different for the Yankees, they too were excited about it. I mean, because it's exciting wherever they go.
Right.
But, you know, Jason Giambi, he'd never been in this ballpark.
And he likes it.
Derek Jeter had never been on the field here.
I don't know if he likes it. He hasn't had the great series here, but Giambi definitely has had a great series. And, of course, Roger would have been historic to pitch in a great ballpark like this to get his 300th win. And he pitched, obviously, well enough yesterday to get it. But the Yankees could not score many runs for him. And that was the reason right there, Kerry Wood.
Kerry Wood instead got it. Got his 50th win. But, you know, it was interesting because Joe Torre, I think, put it best before the game yesterday. He said, wouldn't that be something for the quintessential American League pitcher to get his 300th win in the historic National League ballpark? And he almost did. You've seen the Yankee bullpen this year, and that has been a problem, something you touched on at the very outset of our telecast, Joe.
They've definitely had a lot of problems in the bullpen.
And the foul tip is held by Posada. Martinez is gone. But the Cubs get 2 more runs. Down to the 8th inning. 8-3 Cubs. At 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. You'll see 4 of the best golfers on the LPGA Tour as they compete for $600,000 in prize money. Annika Sorenstam, Kerry Webb, Laura Diaz, and Laura Davies go head-to-head in the ConAgra Foods Skins game. That's tomorrow, 8 Eastern on ESPN. There's Jorge Posada, the Yankees cleanup hitter. He's been hit by a pitch, flied out to left center, and popped up to short. He is 0 for 2. Remlinger misses too low. 1 ball and no strikes.
John, you were talking about the 1938, you know, World Series. I mean, let's go back to 32.
Yeah. The called shot.
Yeah, the call shot. So I'm glad you agree it was a call shot.
Well, a lot of people think that.
Well, I think that, yes. I mean,
2-0.
Knowing Babe Ruth, all I've read about Babe Ruth, he called it. That's the way I feel.
Charlie Root was the pitcher.
Yeah. And he made the Babe mad.
Well, you know, also, the Cubs had a former Yankee who was a part of that 27 Murderers Row Yankee team named Mark Koenig, a shortstop.
Right.
And the Cubs, you know, Koenig came to the ball club during that year in 32, and they voted him only a half share. So that outraged the Babe and his Yankee teammates, that their former teammate would be treated that shabbily by the Cubs. 3-0 the count, and that's a strike, 3-1. So they were kind of getting on the Cubs about that to begin with. The Yankees manager in 32, Joe McCarthy, had been sort of unceremoniously dumped by the Cubs a couple of years before, and he'd had a lot of success in Chicago. 3-1 the count. See, I did a little checking on this 32 series. That's ball 4 to Posada. So anyway, go ahead. Now you're
well, the moral of the story is don't make the Babe mad. I mean, the Babe said in his own voice, he said, yes, I called it.
Okay.
So I believe the Babe. And I know there are a lot of guys who disagree, said that they thought he was pointing at the dugout instead of center field. But if the Babe said he was pointing to center field, I believe him.
Right, well, I believe that Babe did say that he called it.
Right.
I'm not sure that I believe that he did call
it. But he said he did, right?
Robin Ventura has struck out, walked, and flied out to left. He's 0 for 2. Facing Remlinger. That's a called strike. 0-2.
But, you know, all the things I've read about the Babe, you know, he was brash. He was, you know, he would, it just seems right that he would do something like that to me.
Well, the great thing was, it turned out to be his final World Series. And that was the legacy, his final World Series legacy. thing that nobody really remembers about that is that Lou Gehrig followed up the call with a home run of his own.
Yeah, but he didn't call it, so it's just a home run. If you don't call it, it's just another home run.
Well, now you mention it.
Yeah.
1 ball and 2 strikes. That ball is driven deep to right field. Sosa looks up. That ball is gone. Robin Ventura, the former White Sox, comes to Wrigley Field and launches one into the bleachers. And it is 8-5, Chicago. Well, Ventura with his 9th of the year.
Well, the Yankees always can come back because they do have power up and down the lineup. And you can always come from behind when you can hit the ball out of the ballpark. There's Alfonseca.
I'm looking closely here at Ventura. Did he call
No,
this
he
shot?
didn't call it. He didn't call it. I was watching. I was looking for him to call it, but he didn't. Fastball inside part of the plate, and Ventura with a nice smooth swing, and he drives it out.
Almost. Well, we got a new pitcher coming in. Remlinger's gone, and now Antonio Alfonseca is going to come in for the bullpen. Robert Kramer, the noted historian and author, who wrote a book called Babe, a biography of Babe Ruth. He also weighed in, Joe, as we look at the score and Alfonseca coming in. And Robert Kramer weighed in a little bit about whether or not the Babe called that shot in 32.
Bruce in the outfield, he messes up a play, lets the Cubs tie the game. So he comes to bat, second man up the next inning, nobody on base. And the crowd is now all over him. He just messed up a play in the outfield. The great Ruth, and they boo him and hoot him, and Ruth is looking at the crowd, yelling at the Cubs are yelling back at him. Charlie Ruth's on the mound, Babe Ruth's at bat. And Charlie's getting mad because Babe is talking to the bench and yelling, and he says, "Go on, get in there and hit." And I think that's when Ruth sort of made a gesture at the mound, because Gehrig, who was on deck, said, Ruth said, "Put the ball in here, I'll knock it down your damn throat." And he just belted the hell out of the ball, hit it to center field, the uppermost part of the center field bleachers. No one had ever hit a ball that far before. It was just stunning. The fact that he pointed or didn't point doesn't matter a damn. He was challenged by the Cubs, and he stuck it to them. It's the greatest moment in baseball history. I really think so.
Well, you know what? After listening to that, maybe listening to that bleep, you know, maybe I do believe the Babe. Maybe he didn't if the bleep was in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that sounds a little bit like the Babe, too.
But, I mean, that's a great story. Like, in other words, it doesn't matter whether he really actually called it or not. What mattered is they challenged him, and then the next pitch, boom. The longest home run ever seen in this ballpark up to that time.
Yeah,
maybe up to this day.
You know,
I mean, out there in the center field bleachers, that's a shot.
Well, let's take a look. Okay, that's center field to me. I mean, the dugouts over here someplace. I mean, the dugouts, that's center field, man. He was calling it. He just probably missed his mark. He may have been aiming it, a little bit off the left side of center field. But
Alfonseca with a slider, swung in a swing and a miss by Mondesi. Mondesi has a double and a homer tonight. And well, those 2 runs the Cubs got in the 7th look pretty big now. The wild throw by Acevedo, instrumental in those.
Well, Alfonseca, before his injury, I mean, he was the closer of the club, so they have to be happy to be able to have him back.
And that hard sinker is low. He throws a real hard sinking fastball. Nobody out and 2 runs in. Patterson comes over into left center. And that is out number 1.
Nice pitch by Fonseca. He fooled him with the speed and had him reaching for it. You see, it looks like a little cut fastball. It's running away, and you see him reach for it. Nice pitch there by Fonseca. Should I say Al Fonseca?
I'd go with Al Fonseca.
I think I will, too.
And that's a ball inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Well, that was an interesting looking film.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Of the Babe from 1932. Babe's final World Series. The story I read, Joe, said that after, and Robert Kramer just said, after each one of the first 2 strikes that Ruth had taken from Ruth, that is a called strike. 2-2. The Babe held up, you know, his hand each time after each one of them, as if to count off the strikes himself. Just got a piece of that one.
So what he said, what you're saying, he said that's 1, that's 2, and then he pointed to center field. That's what he did, right?
Well, that's what a lot of people believe.
He pointed.
Yeah. And then Gehrig came up and also homered, his 2nd home run of the day. The next day, the Yankees clinched that World Series, Game 4, and Tony Lazzeri hit 2 home runs. 2-2 the count. The Yankees had a lot of great hitters.
Yes.
The Babe in his final World Series had that. I mean, it's a home run that still lives. The Babe had 2 homers in that series and hit .333 and drove in 6 runs. Gehrig had 3 homers, drove in 8 runs, and hit .529 in that World Series. And Matsui fouls it away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Matsui been hit by a pitch, had an infield single, and he has doubled to left center. He's been on a roll since Thursday's big night in Cincinnati.
Well, what you see is a guy that's fighting the fastball off, and he's doing a good job of it the other way. And if you throw him something off speed, then he's able to pull it.
3-2. But we bring up all the Babe and at Wrigley Field because the Yankees are back at Wrigley Field for the first time in over 60 years. And that's ball 4. Matsui's been on base 4 times in this game. Charlie Devins, the last living member of those 1932 Yankees, spoke with ESPN Classic about his recollections of Babe Ruth's famous called shot home run.
I saw him point to the bleachers and then hit the next ball into the bleachers. Well, I did see that, but I think that the reason he put up his finger and it happened to point in the bleachers was because he still had another strike.
Well, and that's the advantage he has over both you and me, Joe. He actually was there.
Well, that's, I know I wasn't there, but I have to argue with him too. Because
now, what does he know about it?
He said he pointed to the bleachers.
Yeah.
Well, if he pointed to the bleachers and hit it into the bleachers, what else is there?
Well, I mean, if you're standing at the plate, you played all those years, Joe.
But I didn't point at the bleachers.
If you're making hand gestures at a pitcher or wherever you're making them, and then you hit a home run,
I've got to believe you know what you're doing.
And I really feel that that's the one area on your resume that's lacking. That you never did that.
No, I never did that.
That's what Devins is talking about.
Well, I just think Devins said he pointed at the bleachers. Some people are saying he pointed at the mound. Others are saying he pointed in the dugout. Well, Devins, who was there, said he pointed to the bleachers.
No question in his mind, he said. Juan Rivera. Gonzalez gets one. Grudzielanek will hold it. No chance for the double play. Matsui is forced out. Out number 2. Now, earlier we asked the Nextel poll question, which player aged 25 or younger is most likely to make the Hall of Fame? And 45% of the voters felt Alfonso Soriano. Albert Pujols, number 2 on that list. How about that? Next weekend, the Cardinals, Albert Pujols and the Cardinals go to Yankee Stadium to take on Soriano and the Yankees. Mark Pryor, 12.2%. Barry Zito, Mark Mulder. How about this? How about all 5 of them?
Yeah, good point. I mean, and they all 5 have a very good chance.
If they can stay free from injury.
That's the big if.
If they can continue to perform at a high level.
And continue to improve. I think that's the key.
Yeah, because
the league will start to adjust to them and how they've been successful, and you have to be able to adapt to that.
Todd Zeile, the pinch hitter for the Yankees. We're in the 8th inning. Zeile, former Cardinal and a veteran of many a Cubs-Cardinal battle in that Middle America rivalry. You've got the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Giants and the Dodgers. And here in this part of the country, it's the Cubs and the Cardinals as the preeminent rivalry. 1-1 to Zeile. And Martinez to Grudzielanek. The force out on Rivera. 8-5. The Cubs are leading. Last of the 8th coming up. Cubs 8, Yankees 5. Last of the 8th coming up at Wrigley Field. Now stay tuned right after the ball game for Sports Center. John Anderson and Kenny Mayne is standing by with all of the goings on around the world of sports. Spurs Nets game 3. A lot of stuff going on in baseball, interleague play, and a conversation with Tiger Woods. That's coming up on Sports Center right after the ball game. That's right. Chris Hammond on the mound now for the Yankees, facing Damian Miller. Miller is 1 for 3. Cubs jumped out early against starter Andy Pettitte, 3 in the first and 3 more in the second. The Yankees have been belatedly playing catch-up. They got 2 in the 6th to make it 6-3, but then 2 big runs for the Cubs in the 7th inning involving a couple of errors by the Yankees. Miller hit that off his foot. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So when the Yanks got 2 more back in the 8th, they were just matching what the Cubs had done in the 7th. The Cubs trying to make it 2 out of 3 over the Yankees here. And that'd be a pretty good weekend for the Cubs, who lost 95 games last year, as they try and assert themselves as being the real thing. A squibber to Giambi. And Miller is retired. Joe Morgan sat down in the Cubs dugout and chatted with Dusty Baker before the game. Talked about Sammy Sosa, among other things.
What do you think is worse, a pitcher cheating, throwing spits, balls, or scuffing up the baseball, or a hitter who corks his back?
I think they're the same to me, but they're not judged the same.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, because, see, I remember, I mean, there were times, and there's still times, I see guys touching everywhere. They're touching everywhere all the time. And I see that ball going like this and like that. And I remember one time when I was with the Braves, there was a guy that was cheating that day, beat us 1-0. And that's the only thing that would make Hank Aaron mad, is if he was facing a cheater.
Right.
And the guy came over to get one of my teammates to take him out after the game after he beat us 1-0. And Hank said, "Get that cheating so-and-so out of here." And because to me, I mean, there is no difference. The only thing is now, very rarely does anybody ever go out and check a pitcher.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, there were a lot of guys who were notorious for throwing spitters or scraping the baseball before. Not so now. You know, it's interesting. We saw that Sammy Sosa's been given 8 days. We've seen some of the other guys given anywhere from 6, 7 to 10 days. And Greg Nettles was the first one to get caught, you know, in the modern era anyway. And he did not get any time. He wasn't suspended. And I talked to him today. It was great. I asked him what happened. And he said they didn't have a rule in place to do that at the time, to deal with that. And he said he's the reason that they started, you know, giving the certain number of games for the suspension. But can you imagine he's the first guy and he was not suspended at all?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that,
yeah,
the end of the bat broke off as Helton, the rookie just up for the minors, lines one to left field. Caught by Rivera. David Helton, who hit 300 or was hitting 300 down in Iowa. He replaces Hesop Choi in the roster, who was placed on the disabled list today. He gets a nice ovation for a pretty good at bat there as Grudzielanek comes up. 2 down. But Greg Nettles, as Grudzielanek takes a strike, all these little super balls. The story is the super balls came out of the end of his bat and started bouncing all around home plate. I mean, it creates a sort of a comedic scene in your mind's eye anyway. There's a list of guys who've been suspended for doctoring bats, starting with Nettles.
Yeah, look at that. 0. 1974.
No games.
Yeah, he was not suspended.
Chris Sabo, Albert Bell, Billy Hatcher. That one is whacked down the left field line by Grudzielanek. Extra bases. Rivera has to go in against the ivy to bring it out. And Grudzielanek has his 3rd hit of the game. This one a double.
Well, Grudzielanek has been swinging the bat well. There's a pitch off the plate inside, and he keeps it fair into the corner.
I'm a little puzzled, though, about the story about Greg Nettles.
Yeah.
I mean, he used the doctored bat. You'd think that somewhere somebody would just come out and say, like the league, in those days they had league presidents.
Yeah, just say 1 game, 5 games, or whatever.
That's illegal, and you've got to serve a suspension for it. And that ends the inning. Giambi with the unassisted put out against Gonzalez. Last chance for the Yankees. They are 3 runs down. Borowski, the closer, coming in with the bullpen. Stay tuned. Soriano, Jeter, and Giambi, the big guys, are coming up. A career milestone for Sammy Sosa. That came in the 7th inning, his 2,000th career hit. Now to the 9th inning. Joe Borowski, 32-year-old right-hander, trying to wrap up a victory for the Cubs. Sosa, 1 for 3 with a walk tonight. That single, his 2,000th hit, knocked in a run. That's a ball outside. Borowski had been around a long time, very little time in the big leagues. Signed originally by the Baltimore Orioles. But last year, he found a home here with the Cubs in a year where their bullpen was a disaster. He was probably the most effective of all the Cubs relievers last year. And this year, when Alfonseca had to go into the disabled list to start the year, Borowski sort of, by default, became the closer. And he's done a great job at it. Dusty Baker. His Cubs, by the way, are going to Baltimore to open up a series with the Orioles at Camden Yards as Soriano fouls one off. The Yankees are going home, and they've been on the road for a while. This is the 9th game of a road trip for the Yankees. To Detroit, then to Cincinnati, now to Chicago. And they're going to go home for more interleague play. They're going to play the Houston Astros, and that's a hot ball club. Jeff Bagwell, Jeff Kent, Craig Biggio, Lance Berkman, Richard Hidalgo is back. They're going to Yankee Stadium next. 2-2, and Clemens is next due on Friday, although Joe Torre kind of hedged after the game yesterday. He said, you know, we'll see how Roger's feeling. He's had this upper respiratory infection. Strike 3. Man, he just blew a fastball right by Soriano. Another strikeout for the Yankees. What's that, Joe? I'm 12. I think I've got 12 for the night.
Yep, 12.
The Yankees have had 10 strikeouts or more in 4 straight games, 45 total. The last time a Yankee team had that many 10-plus strikeout games in a row was 1965, and that was a bad year for the Yankees. That was the beginning of a decline for the Yankees. They had been to the World Series the year before for the 13th time in 15 years, or whatever it was, some incredible stretch they had from 49 through 64. 14 out of 16, I guess it was. Derek Jeter 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts and a double play ball tonight for Jeter. And the Yankees, after being in the World Series 64, ended up having a bad ball club in 65. They got old. Johnny Keane came from the Cardinals. He had managed against the Yankees in the previous World Series. And then he left the Cardinals to manage the Yankees. And I'm sure he regretted it. The Yankees were not very good. And they were even worse the next year. They finished dead last in 66. 3-0 to Jeter. That's a strike. 3-1. But the Yankees will be happy to be back, I'm sure, in the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium on Tuesday.
I'm sure they will.
The Yankees lose this game. The Red Sox will be back in first by a half game. The Red Sox won at Milwaukee, which, you know, if you were reading the papers this week, that kind of bugged George Steinbrenner. And while the Yankees are playing the slugging Reds and then the hot Cubs at Wrigley Field, the Red Sox were playing Pittsburgh and Milwaukee this week, whom the Yankees don't play at all in interleague play this year. They don't play either one of those clubs. Crowd on its feet. 3-2 the count. And Jeter onto the rooftop. I would figure this has got to be a big at bat in Jeter's mind.
Yes, it is.
For a lot of reasons.
Yeah, good point. I mean, you never want to have this type of game, and your job now is just to try to get on base. I've never seen him strike out 3 times in a game. I'm sure he has, but I have not seen him do that.
And Jeter gets himself aboard. The New York Yankees are trailing 8-5. We're in the top of the 9th inning at Wrigley Field, Chicago, the rubber match of this 3-game interleague series between the Yankees and the Cubs. Now, right after the ball game, SportsCenter comes up. All the highlights from the Spurs and Nets Game 3 in the NBA Finals. Also, all of the baseball news. A lot going on in baseball with interleague play in full swing, and the conversation with Tiger Woods. John Anderson and Kenny Mayne are standing by in the SportsCenter studio as we speak. Here's Giambi. He's homered tonight. 1 for 4 in the game, and he takes a strike with a slider. 3 infielders play to the right side for Giambi.
I know this may not be a good time to remind you, but Giambi was my daily double pick. Yours was Sammy Sosa.
In the Joe Morgan daily double.
Diamond
Daily. 0-2 to Giambi. Well, I had Sosa knocking in a run, getting his 2,000th hit. How many ovations has Giambi gotten tonight?
Yeah, but he hit a home run.
So in the Diamond Daily, Joe Morgan's Diamond Daily, he got more points than my guy?
Home runs give you a little more points.
Big deal.
Well, maybe you get extra points because Sosa did get his 2,000th hit.
Yeah, I feel like that should be a lot of extra points. And his team is winning.
Good point. High fastball, and good job by Giambi not to go after it.
One and 2 the count. 2-2. Next Sunday, we're talking about interleague play.
Yeah.
Another great matchup on Sunday Night Baseball. The Atlanta Braves, with the best record in the National League, in Seattle, against the Mariners with the best record in the American League. They are both 42-19 right now.
Should be great.
Should be the young Gil Mesh and the veteran Greg Maddux next Sunday night. The slider too low.
Well, the one thing you have to do is, you have to throw strikes. I'm sitting here, I was watching him pitch to Jeter, and 3-2, they tried to hit the inside corner. 3-2 with 1 out and 3-run lead. I think you have to just throw it down the middle.
The worst he could do is make it a one-run game.
Exactly.
If he gets aboard, Posada, who has lots of power, would be the possible tying run. Sosa. No. He'll have to go play it off the ivy. Jeter speeds over to third, and Giambi ambles into second with a double, and Posada is coming up as the possible tying run. The wind continues to blow out toward right.
And you do not, I mean, you mind, but it doesn't upset you that Giambi gets a base hit. What upsets you is to walk a guy with a 3-run lead. This is a little slide piece, but a great job of hitting. That's perfect backdoor slider. And
Patterson is happy to let Sammy go for that one all the way. 2 down, and now Mondesi, the Yankees' final hope. And he's had a double and a homer tonight.
Fastball, that one kind of tailing away. It wasn't a slider. Fastball, and it looked like it just started to move away just enough to get Ventura underneath it.
Well, now with 2 down, Charles Gibson, Gipson, Gibson is the runner for Posada. Gibson is a very fast man. Borowski and Mondesi. Mondesi has only faced Borowski 3 times in his career, and he's had 2 hits against him. Mondesi doubled in the second tonight, homered in the 6th. 2 for 4. Having a pretty good year for the Yankees up till now. Now they've got to be mindful of Gibson over there. Gibson could steal a base.
And I agree with that, but I think he has to give all of his concentration to Mondesi. I mean, Gibson can't steal second, third, and home. So you have to get the hitter out. Concentrate on Mondesi and do not hang it, because if you're worried about him, you may hang a breaking ball or make a mistake to Mondesi.
8-7, the Cubs are leading. Matsui on deck. Some prayers being whispered at the moment at Wrigley Field. Strike of the slider.
Well, the one thing you can do, if you trust your slider, as apparently he does, because he's thrown it on 3-2 counts several times, you have to make sure if you miss with it, it misses off the outside as he does there, but you can't miss in the middle of the plate. If you miss with it, it has to be away.
Everybody on their feet at Wrigley Field. 0-2 the count, and again off the plate.
Another good pitch. You have to miss out there, so good job on the first 2 pitches by Borowski. Now if you're Joe Torre, what do? Do you let Gibson just take off?
Two down, 2 strikes. Gibson is picked off, and that is how it ends. Wrigley Field is rocking one more time as this great interleague weekend comes to an end in a shocking way.
Well, he was definitely going, and the reason he was going, he waited till it was 2 strikes, because until you get 2 strikes, Mondesi has a chance of hitting a home run. But with 2 strikes, he's more likely to hit a single, so you try to steal to get in the scoring position so that you can score on a single, and not a good play there by Gibson. And you see the Cubs all happy in the dugout.
The Cubs, who had been swept by the Yankees in the 32 series and the 38 series, 65 years later, take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees here at Wrigley Field. The Cubs right there in the division, the Yankees a half game back of the Red Sox in their division. John Miller, Joe Morgan, good night from Wrigley Field.